very nice lob.
Yeah, I thought that.
It's gorgeous. One slip for Ireland in the circle of fielders. Dockrell claps his hands to encourage Tim Murtagh to even greater efforts. Peter Chase has taken the 2 wickets to fall so far. Alex Hale surviving a few chances before departing. Murtagh's in, drifting slightly straight, and has played off his toes for 2 by Root onto the onside. And England move into the 90s, 91 for 2.
Ed and Vic were talking about players they didn't like watching, but this is a player I love watching. And amazing how he's harnessed his game. 3 or 4 years ago was targeted as just a test match cricketer, and he's just fantastic to watch now in one-day cricket, Joe Root.
Start of a busy summer for England. Root unhappy with that shot, didn't time it at all, forced it out in the offside, where again Dockrell fielding close in the covers, cuts out the danger, and the ball is spun round to Andrew Balbirnie at mid-off and back to Murtagh. Well, there hasn't been much for the Irish fans in the crowd and the guys in fancy dress to get too excited about. It's a regulation victory for England, as Root again plays that off his toes, square on the onside, and they come through for a single. And that's England on to 92 for 2 at in the midpoint of the 15th over. So changes for Sunday. There are 3 guys who were shown on the monitor looking rather despondent. Craig Young, Barry McCarthy and Andy McBride.
Yes, it will be.
Murtagh's in once more and leaning back, and through square leg goes Owen Morgan, and that's another gloriously struck 4 for the England captain.
Well, at the pace that Tim Murtagh bowls, you simply can't
Too
bowl
short.
that type of length. Owen Morgan could have hit it anywhere, and he duly did, in front of square. Easily struck away for 4. So the score 96 for 2 now. I suppose the only question is, will we be out after 2:30, Michael?
31 needed for victory. Murtagh, better ball from him, but showing a little bit of disgust with himself for that previous delivery. End of the 15th over. England 96 for 2. Joe Root has glided his way to 29, and Owen Morgan's on 10. The men out were Jason Roy, caught Dockrell, bowled Chase for a duck, I think the 5th ball of the innings, and Alex Hale's few chances, eventually going for a quick-fire 55 caught by Porterfield off the bowling of Chase. Few thoughts from Alan Lewis. We'll hand now to Simon Mann, who's hiding behind me. There he is.
If I'm to take anything from an Irish bowling perspective here, Chase is continually progressing, and he's actually bowled reasonably well here today. He's only 23 years of age, can bowl on occasion certainly mid to late 80s, and it's looking for scrap, Simon, of positive points.
96 for 2 then. Here is Chase moving into bowl to Root, clips that through mid-wicket. That's a lovely shot out towards the boundary. Won't be 4. Fielder running round Dockrell to his left-hand side, sends it in on the bounce to O'Brien. And the score advances to 98 for 2. So England need 20... Where are we? 9 more to win. To do it before lunch in 7 minutes, so probably 2 overs. So it's one of those tantalising ones where, you might end up with a situation where it's 10 to win or 15 to win. They all troop off for lunch. Chase bowls. Root goes back, clips us into the onside, wide of mid-on. They jog through for a single. 99 for 2 in the 16th over. And Root, with that single, moves to 32. Ireland all out for 126. Balbirnie leading scorer with 30. At one stage they were 81 for 2 and fell away badly against Rashid with 5 for 27, and Root 2 for 9. And then Hale's out for 55 from 39 balls, and Roy out for 0 in the first over. 2 wickets for Peter Chase. and all too comfortable for England today after the first 5 overs anyway, when Ireland reached 40 for no wicket. Chase in his 6th over, 2 for 34. Well, the slip in goes into bowl to Morgan. Bat raised short, helped on its way down towards the fine leg boundary, could be caught, and he is caught. That's a very fine catch down there in the deep. Very good catch indeed. The Ireland supporters away to our left-hand side are off their feet. They're cheering. They really enjoyed that. It was a short delivery. Chase has got his 3rd wicket, and Morgan helped it on its way down towards the fine leg boundary. Not in control of the shot. Got plenty of it, but not enough. And it was very well claimed down there.
It was a very good catch. Very good catch, that, by Kevin O'Brien. There's one man that's going to be happy, my breakfast man this morning, who has now seen 3 wickets fall by England, so he's at 6-5, won a bit of money. Balbirnie top scorer, Swanee also, which he grabbed at 11-2. So he'll be a happy bunny as he mulls over his dinner and buys me a drink later on.
We don't want to encourage
sorry,
too much betting, but just to clarify, so if England lost 3 wickets, he wins his money.
He wins his money, yes.
Right, okay.
That was they were the little twists that he had today. I think we can talk about. I know we shouldn't be talking about those, but jocularly, I think for the punter on the street, I think it's fair dinkum. Most of the time, Simon, we've been together. We've been talking about the fatality of potentially an England loss. This is the first time I've kind of been with you where you've been rubbing it into me.
Well, it was a game you talked about earlier, the game in Dublin, where it looked as if England were going to lose again, didn't it? And then we had that partnership between Bopara and Morgan, rescuing England from about 50 for 4 to the 250 odd, whatever it was they needed to win. So, Johnny Bairstow is required.
He's not in form, is he?
There's only 28 more required for victory. So not much work for him to do today. So a strange situation in a one-day international to come in 5 minutes before lunch.
How would he have felt today not getting the flag? I know they're doing this.
Disappointed, I think. Well, he wouldn't have been so disappointed when he woke up this morning, because he knew it wasn't going to happen. He knew he wasn't going to be keeping wicket. But the way into this England one-day side, probably for him on a regular basis, is to be the wicket-keeper. 99 for 3. Chase goes into bowl to him. He struck on the pad. First ball going down the leg side, says umpire Bailey. Possibility of an inside edge as well, as the ball flew away into the offside. Bairstow rehearses the shot. He was looking for the clip through mid-wicket. He was just angling in from Chase. Just seeing it on the replay.
Going down.
It was just going down, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Well, one of those that you, as a bowler, as a wicket-keeper and slips, you go up for, especially with a new man in as well.
We go up for anything at this stage.
99 for 3. 28 more required. 16th over. Chase bowls to Bairstow, drives, doesn't find the gap at cover. And there is no run. Stuart Thompson diving away to his left-hand side. So good catch by Kevin O'Brien. He made 4 earlier. At least he's made a contribution to the day. He's got rid of his former teammates. Morgan. It's not easy to judge those sort of catches on daylight today when the wind is swirling. The ball was swirling as well. Here's Chase bowling. It's defended. Back into the onside, up towards mid-on, picked up by Murtagh. That is the end of the 16th over. And I reckon we've got time for one more over before lunch. So unless this over goes to 28, we'll be back at 3:15 for a bit more action. I'm sure it has happened. Overs in one-day cricket have gone for 28, but it's rather on the high end of what you'd expect from an over.
I don't think that's going to happen today.
It happened to England in the World Cup, and Michael, was it John, reminded me earlier that Ireland won more matches in the last World Cup than England did. But it happened to England in the World Cup in Wellington against New Zealand. I think New Zealand needed 10 to win, and they came off the field. It's about that anyway. Of course, there are regulations to follow, and there are, I suppose, commercial interests for the club here, that they want their spectators to leave seats and buy food and drink. It is a way of making money, and
the only thing
all
about
county clubs need to do that.
It's very cold out there, let me tell you.
Here's Murtagh going in to bowl the last over before lunch, and it's played defensively by Root back up the pitch, and Murtagh stops it in his follow through, and there is no run. I mean, it may well be that a few take a view and decide to slope off, but if you set yourself to be here all day for the cricket, you'll probably turn up. And there's not much drama left in the game. Well, Ireland have chipped away. They picked up 3 wickets.
Well, I suppose the one heartening bit, Simon, has been, from an Irish perspective, Peter Chase, who's bowled with a bit of pace and good direction.
To bowls to Root, who comes across his stumps and to meet him, and then clips it off the what ended up still being the back foot, because he was standing up to a ball that was a bit short and played it towards mid-wicket. It went to mid-on in the end, and there was no run. Morgan out for 10, by the way. Roy yet to score, and Hales for 55. Yeah, Chase has got 3. Murtagh turning at that far end. The wind essentially behind him, goes into bowl to Root, who plays this forcefully, but with a great deal of timing, off the back foot, straight to cover. And there is no run, so 99 for 3. I think if Hales had stayed in, then England would have got there.
Oh, I think we would have been
Way played.
I think we would have had certainly lunch then. No doubt about that.
Skittish innings from Hales, 55 from 39 balls. He had 10 fours. He was dropped twice. He nicked one between wicketkeeper and slip as well.
Well, it was the wicketkeeper strangling down the leg side. That was the one that was...
Murtagh bowls to Root, who plays half aggressively towards mid-off, straight to the fielder, and there is no run. Yeah, that was a straightforward catch, wasn't it, down the leg side? As easy as they come down the leg side. He got into a good position. And the ball just popped out of his glove. Niall O'Brien, who then suggested to his fellow fielders that he just flicked the pad.
There's a surprise.
2 balls to go until lunch. Murtagh, his 6th over, no wicket for 33. Bowls to Root, who flicks this firmly into the onside, but straight to mid-on. And there is no run. So 1 to go. And then back for what? 15 minutes afterwards. Probably 3:30 finish. During the lunch interval, we're going to be talking to Warren Dutrom from the Irish Cricket Association, Chief Executive of Cricket Ireland. A sobering day for him, really, although you just look at the long-term picture. Root plays firmly into the onside, straight to mid-on, and there is no run, and that is the end of the over. And we are assuming that they are going to take the bails off, but what time is it? It's just past 2:30.
It certainly was on the ground clock out there, 14:31. I saw that a little bit earlier. I don't know what they're going to... discussion is taking place.
Discretionary 15 minutes. Well, we did have a look at the regulations earlier to see what they would do, but we must have missed that bit out. Anyway, there we go. So we are going to have 15 more minutes, because presumably, in the opinion of the umpires, they feel that a result is possible. Well, there we go.
Yeah, well, that's... Let's face it, it's probably common sense. You love referees with common sense. I absolutely adore them.
Graham Swan getting involved at the back of the box here. Anyway, well, on we go then. Well, that was a small surprise to us, and it's the first ball that Peter Chase's next over is clipped away towards mid-wicket. And they definitely changed it in Test cricket to be more flexible.
Well, I think it's the right thing to do, Sam, to be perfectly frank.
So England's next target is to score the 28 runs in 15 minutes.
Well, what do you reckon, Swanee?
I reckon if I was a gambling man, you were talking about gambling earlier, I'd probably back England for the win from here before lunch.
No, all right, okay.
Chase bowls, short, low pull, out towards the deep forward square leg boundary from Bairstow, who is off the mark with a single. And England's 100 is up.
I mean, if I'm honest, if I was the Irish team, I'd probably want this game to finish before lunch as well, because you don't want to sit there for 40 minutes, have to go back out and sort of have your death rights read to you. Get the senior bloke on, one of the batsmen who messed up, and bowl 4 wides. Get this game done and dusted. It's your fault. So you take the hit on your figures. Don't leave it to the bowlers. I think the Irish bowlers have toiled away fairly manfully. They've had a thankless task.
18th over, 100 for 3. Root on 32, and Root edges that on the bounce, so it's not stopped cleanly at first slip, and it's going down towards the boundary of a 4. It was a genuine edge, but it went down, bounced in front of the fielder.
There you go, your senior player Gary Wilson, he knows the script. He's not stopping that, he's let it go in off the shin for 4. Sorry, Skip.
Well, to be fair to him, it was a cold hands sort of day. It's horrible fielding at slip at this time of year on a cold day. Best person to be on the field on a day like today, and this time of year, wicket-keeper.
Absolutely, I always got jealous of the keepers this time of year.
Those big gloves on. 104 for 3. Root goes to 36. Chase moves into bowl. Root stands up and forces this controlled force into the offside, finds the gap out towards the cover boundary, and they're through for a single. So on we go for another 10 minutes or so. I mean, what happens at 2:45? He did say 15 minutes.
Yeah, 15 minutes.
So what happens at 2:45 if the scores are level?
You've got to go off, which is come on, a bit of common sense. If you're the umpire, you pretend it's only 14 minutes past, don't you?
Chase goes into bowl to Bairstow, and just angling back into Bairstow. He plays it, or tries to force it into the offside, but he's tucked up, can't get any power into the shot, and it goes towards point, and there is no run.
I mean, one thing that
5-3.
we're definitely going to get a very early finish, which is a shame for Gloucestershire County Cricket Club in Bristol, because they tend to have a bit of bad luck here for the internationals with weather
have
and what
late,
have you over the years. But it's a great little ground to come and play at as a player. I say little, it's only little when the internationals are massive in county cricket.
Chase to Bairstow, short pulled away. It's a cracking looking shot from Bairstow, but straight to Dockrell on the deep square leg boundary. So it's only a single. Well, there are some more international matches coming up here this summer. There's matches in the Women's World Cup starting in June, and also a one-day international between England and the West Indies in September. So 2 one-days this year. 21 to win from 10 minutes.
Might finish those roadworks by then.
I doubt it. Long-term project.
Yeah, well, I mean, if it is an early finish, the good news is there's a ticket for Bob Dylan going my way back in Nottingham tonight. So the one thing that me and Bob Willis have in common, we both like Bob Dylan.
The only problem is, well, you'll be on the motorway just in time for the Friday evening rush hour. So will you?
Not the way I go, mate. They have private roads.
Well, I wouldn't expect anything less.
No, we'll beat it. I think we'll be there before it. 2:30 now, could be finished by 2:46.
Well, William Porterfield's changing the bowling here. It's taking quite a long time to sort out. And it's Stuart Thompson who is going to bowl from the Ashley Down end. 2 overs, no wicket for 12. And England need 21 runs to win. Root on 37. Bairstow's the man on strike on 2. And Thompson goes into bowl to its full outside the off stump. Bairstow tries to thrash it through the offside. They pinch a quick single there, barely timed by Bairstow. Maximum effort. And the ball dribbled off the bat. And it still went through.
Minimal output.
Yeah. It looks
like my running technique.
Looks at the toe end of his bat there, trying to thrash that through the offside. It ran about 3 or 4 yards away.
So you're looking very fit at the moment, Simon. Have you been in training for something?
Training,
just training for life.
Training to stay alive, Sonny. Keep yourself fit. 107 for 3. Root on 37. Down the leg side, tickled away. This is coming down fine. This has gone away for 4. But wasn't a great delivery from Stuart Thompson. Just strayed onto Root's pads and glanced away. And that takes Root to 41. And England to 111 for 3.
That's another target. Joe Root will be looking at the scoreboard as well. 9 more runs for a half century. I'm not sure if he denies it or not, but he's a big stats man. All batsmen are big stats men. Love their little 50s and 100s.
Have you ever come across one that isn't?
Yeah.
Thompson bowls. Played nicely by Root through the covers. That looks as if it's going up to the boundary for 4 more. Fielder after it. Oh, he might just knock it back. He does. Just inside the rope there. Right at the far end of the ground. Wide, long off. And Root is picking up 3 runs for that. 14 for 3. One of the longest parts of this ground.
Yeah. Off the top of my head, I'd say there probably are a few. Don't really care. David Hussey, Australia's the only one I really knew. I don't think he cares about anything, Dave. He's the most laissez-faire man I've ever met. Brilliant player, but 99 is, you say, what's the difference? 99 and 100.
114 for 3. Nicely driven by Bairstow. That one from Thompson's latest delivery. That goes past the bowler and up to the long off boundary before. And this over, the introduction of Stuart Thompson is hastening the end of this game.
He's going to get a nickname, the finisher, but for the wrong reasons.
Lovely shot from Bairstow. It was very full. It was in the slot and past the bowler's left hand on his follow through. 118 for 3. 9 runs to win in 6 minutes. Route 44, Bairstow 7. Thompson bowls outside the off stump, slapped away, and not timed.
It's a no ball.
No, it's a no ball. Another one.
Now a free hit.
Now a free hit.
Tomo knows the score. Trust me. I like this kid.
And he's gone for 24 now in his third over.
He's a Bob Dylan fan, obviously. He can come with me. My mate Reedy a ring, you'll have a spare ticket for the box. You fancy it?
What's that?
Bit of Bob Dylan tonight. Are you not allowed north of Watford without a visa or something?
Not at all. This is a free hit, and it's slapped away by Bairstow. Again inspects the bottom of his bat. It goes out to deep mid wicket, and he gets a single. 119 for 3, 120 for 3 in the 19th over. Bairstow to 8. So what time is it starting?
8:30.
Oh, you'll be fine.
2 hours from everywhere, Bristol, isn't it?
Pretty much. This is Thompson. Bowling to Root. Goes back and cracks this towards the cover boundary. That's 4. Found the gap between backward point and cover, and England rushing to victory now. And Thompson, 3 overs for 30. That over went for 18.
Yeah, from Johnny Bairstow, obviously new to the crease, not used to the pace of the pitch, is struggling to time the ball. Joe Root, however, much as he has for the last 2 or 3 years, his time has been impeccable. And that was a glorious back cover drive, I'd say, just in front of the square on the offside. Just a lovely bit of time, and didn't try and hit it too hard, and yet it raced across this beautiful Bristol outfield. One of my favourite grounds, you know, Simon.
Do you ever have any success here?
Not with the ball, particularly. Go on.
Don't tell me you scored your first class 100 here.
Not my first one, no, that was at Leicester. My biggest, my highest ever score here.
124 for 3 then, and only 3 runs to win. A short ball pulled away down towards fine leg. They are off for a single, and England need 2 more to win the match. I'm in the 20th over, so it looks as if England are going to win this with 30 overs to spare. Ireland's innings only lasted 33 overs, so we've barely got past the 50 over mark today. A really chastening day for Ireland. Root on 48, 2 to win. Chase bowls to him, and he plays defensively into the offside, and there's no run. A chance to, these little milestones, bring up 50 and hit the winning runs as well. He's waiting perhaps for the right ball in this 20th over. Although Chase has done well, 3 for 42.
He's bowled very well. I've been very impressed with him. Very good action, quite quick. He's got a bit of pace out of this pitch that's very docile. So it's not all doom and gloom for the Irish today. Moving forward to Sunday, we need to improve in a lot of areas, however.
Tall man, 6'4", goes in, bowls to Root. Is short, and that's slapped away, but straight to Dockrell on the deep square leg boundary. So Root only gets a single, and the scores are level with 3 balls left in this 20th over. I think Billy Root's got runs today, hasn't he? He's got 100
for Notts.
Yeah,
go on, you Notts. I saw that when Notts played Yorkshire the other day. Yorkshire on the cusp of winning, and Billy Root was brought on to bowl to his brother so he would get him out, but Joe just spanked him to the fence first ball.
Scores level. Bairstow on strike, looking to clip into the onside, inside edge onto the pad, rolls back down the pitch, and Chase picks up, and there's no run.
May have even hit for 6, I think.
I think he did hit him for 6, didn't he?
That's just bullying, your little brother.
He didn't lob it up for him to finish the game.
I hope not. You think you'd block at least 1, wouldn't you? I know there's sibling rivalry, but come on, Joe, things are going all right for you, mate. Let him have 1.
1 to win. Bairstow on strike. And Bairstow gets a thick inside edge there onto the pad, runs away into the offside, and there's no run. He was looking for the single. Root was probably looking for his half century at the non-striker.
There's an easy single here. Joe Root was so sat on his bat handle at the non-strikers. No, I wait for the next job.
So 1 ball left in the over. Root is at the non-strikers end on 49. What's Bairstow
With his arms
do
crossed,
here?
he doesn't look happy either.
What's Bairstow do here? Do you try to hit the winning runs here?
Absolutely you do. Do the Graham Thorpe.
And he turns out into the onside, and there it is. England have won. He goes up towards the long-on boundary. They run through for a single. Root's denied his half-century. Bairstow hits the winning run, and it's a very comfortable victory for England by 7 wickets with exactly 30 overs to spare. Well, I wonder how apprehensive Ireland were when they came here this morning. They have struggled of late in one-day international cricket, and England have crushed them. Much better needed from Ireland on Sunday at Lord's. England won by 7 wickets, and they got there before the interval.
Yeah, I think you summed it up there. They've crushed the Irish today. Ireland won the toss and chose to bat. That was seen as a good decision, a brave decision. It started quite nicely, but inexplicably lost a lot of wickets in the middle order to the spinners when the ball wasn't really spinning. Very well bowled Adil Rashid. I'm not taking anything away from his 5 for 27. She did the job any captain wants when you get a little open the door into a side. Your leg spinner comes on and then kicks it wide open. That's exactly what he did. The Irish are very dejected walking off, and so they should be. Joe Root looks even more dejected. He's missed out on his 50. He'll not talk to Johnny Bairstow for a while. Not the old Graham Thorpe, Alex Tudor thing, that wouldn't it?
Yeah, well, Alex Tudor, 99 not out. And
Edge past him.
obviously never got the chance. Well, he did have a chance, but he never got into that position to get a first Test 100 ever again. I mean, you talk about stats. Bats. Do they look at stats? I'm sure Alex Tudor would think,
absolutely.
I would like that extra run.
He freely admits it as well. Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, as you say, Swanee, a very dejected Ireland team. They will feel they've let themselves down. Well, not just a little, a lot today. And England, who are a good one-day side now, they didn't really let them get away, and they just made it a very difficult morning and early afternoon for them. So the Bristol crowd heading home. 7,000 capacity today, and just looking around the ground, most of the seats taken. So ultimately quite a disappointing day. I wonder whether I probably think they would have preferred to see England bat first. I think it's always you want to see a team win, don't you? But you also want, I suppose, some value for money, and it's not necessarily been the case today.
I think it's less than value for money. You want full value for your day, don't you? Most people will take a day off work to come here. Maybe have to book in a day's holiday, or convince the missus that today's the day we should come here rather than IKEA. So they'll be disappointed, but they'll do the one thing that most people do in this situation and go and enjoy a day out instead. I know I would. Yeah.
Okay, I tell you what we're going to do, Graham. We are going to just review the day in the time we have available up until 3 o'clock. So we've got 13 or 14 minutes to have a chat. We'll try and get some reaction as well. And we'll also, at 3 o'clock, we'll take you to that Royal London Cup match between Surrey and Middlesex, which is being played today at the Oval. So that's our plans. We'll have cricket right until the end.
Don't worry, dear listener.
Exactly. There are other Royal London Cup matches being played today, and reminder, you can get commentary on all those games via the BBC Sport website. So a comfortable victory in the first of 2 one-day internationals between Ireland and England. Comfortable victory for England. A really disappointing day for Ireland. I suppose their big day is Lord's on Sunday, a chance to play at the home of cricket, but they turned up in Bristol this morning. They made a positive decision to bat first. I just wonder how many people in the 7,000 crowd who turned up with tickets today would prefer to see England bat first this morning. Anyway, it didn't go well for them. Bowled out for 126. Balbirnie made 30, Joyce 23, Sterling 20 at the start. 40 for no wicket after 5 overs. And the seamers picked up 3 wickets. It was 81 for 3. Then Rashid got into the game. 5 for 27 from 8 overs. His best one-day international figures. And Joe Root as well, 2 for 9 from 5 overs. So against the spinners, 7 for 36. 7 wickets for the spinners
Harding,
in a one-day
that's it.
international. In a one-day international
Warwickshire
in May,
Cockles.
early May.
I know, that's the crazy bit. And the ball didn't really spin. I mean, Adil Rashid bowled Thompson with a beauty of a googly. Thompson bats number 8 or 9, doesn't he? So you can understand that a little bit. The tailenders don't pick leg spinners, but the way the top order got out, they're senior players, the guys who Ireland have relied on for so many years, the O'Brien brothers, Gary Wilson, they're terrible batting, really. Kevin O'Brien missed a straight ball. It was LBW. Gary Wilson and Niall O'Brien both got out playing sweep shots to straight deliveries. You don't sweep when it's on your stumps, you wait till it's wider, but you could probably forgive the first dismissal as early season rustiness, but 3 in the space of 5 overs is just daft.
And a tough day for William Porterfield as well, Ireland's captain, returning to a ground he knows well. He knows the conditions here. He played for Gloucestershire, really struggled. 13 runs. Root comes on, he hits one straight to mid-off in his first over.
Yeah, he looked all out of sorts today. I think Will likes the ball coming onto the bat a lot better. It was fairly slow today. It was hard to time it. I think Alex Hales clubbed the ball today more than timed it. Joe Root's the only one who's really timed it all day. Ed Joyce for a very short while at the top of the Irish innings. But and on slower wickets, Porterfield, because he's not a powerful player, he relies on a bit of pace onto the bat to deflect and time the ball. So yeah, it was a fitting end actually, because it was an awful shot, hit one straight to mid-off. I think everyone was glad to see him go, including himself.
What do Ireland do? I mean, it's very you know that you're playing against a superior team. What do they do? How do they change their game plan for Sunday?
Well, they have to approach the game just in the same way they approached the game in Bangalore in the World Cup when they beat us those years ago. We were a superior team. Then we were a much better team than they were. They'll probably deny that. But, you know, on paper and man-to-man, we were a much better team than they were. But they had this spirit and this atmosphere about their team that they weren't going to lose the game. And Kevin O'Brien, perhaps he needs to definitely do something different when he bats, because he's never recreated that incredible 150 he got at Bangalore on that day. You know, they need to go into any sporting fixture. You can't possibly believe you're going to lose the game before you go in, no matter who you're playing. You know, if I joined a pub football team, we played Barcelona tomorrow, I'd fully expect to win before the game. And that's the only way you can approach it. Of course, you can get battered 35-0 at half-time, but before that game, I would believe that we could.
Was that the attitude you took into every game?
Absolutely, yeah, you had to, because the second you don't in a sporting fight, you've lost that battle. When I bowled, I mean, as Jimmy Anderson said, I was a club spinner who did well, and I convinced myself I was great, and that's how I took wickets.
Just hold on there a second, Graham. We're going to hear from Adil Rashid now. He's with Kevin Howells.
Adil, I've seen you bowl 3 times this week. You've been good on all occasions, but that was just a terrific performance today from you again.
Yeah, it was okay today. I felt quite good. You know, it was nice, obviously, to bowl some overs, and it's obviously nice to bowl my variation as well. And it came out, fairly good today, and hopefully I can carry that on.
In terms of a contest, disappointing for the crowd, but in terms of England's performance and you're all part of it, you must be hugely sasatisfied.
Yeah, definitely. This is our first game of a long summer coming up now, so it shows our bowlers and our batsmen, if we're in form, we can do some damage, and hopefully that can carry on.
Your success in limited overs cricket is really been very encouraging for you in recent years. You must be at the top of your game, don't you think, at the moment?
Well, I look to improve day by day, game by game, in practice, in every situation I look to improve, but sometimes we're playing games, sometimes as cricketers it doesn't go your way, sometimes it does, but it's knowing when it does go your way, it's remaining confident and know what works, and hopefully I can carry that on now.
So would you agree with me then you're at the top of your game? I mean, have you really ever been bowling better than
well
this?
I don't really know on top of my game. I don't really know what my top of my game is yet, because hopefully there's a lot more to come, or not, so I can't really say if I am on top of my game, but at the moment I feel quite confident, I feel quite good, so hopefully I can carry that on.
You'll know there'll be better to come from Ireland, another game coming up on Sunday, I guess.
Yeah, but that's cricket, some days you don't have a good day, some days you have very good days, bad days, whatever, but today they didn't have the best day, but Sunday they might come back stronger and get runs and get wickets, so every day is a new day. And finally from me, this is supposed to be the difficult time of year for you spinners. Doesn't seem to be bothering you too much. No, obviously it can be early season with the weather cold and stuff, but I've been playing now for 10-11 years, so I've been getting used to it, early season, cold weather and adjusting and stuff, so hopefully the weather now will kick in and get a bit warm.
Another great day, well done, Lee.
No problem, thank you very much.
Adi Rashid, man of the match with Kevin Howells, 5 for 27. So he doesn't know if he's on the top of his game.
No, I'm going to say that was one of the greatest quotes here. I don't know if I'm on top of the game because I want to get better or not.
what if you could, one thing, if you could improve in one way, what would it be?
Adil, I think it's belief with the red ball in his hand. I think he's a very good one-day bowler with the white ball. He knows he can do it. He's confident. You saw that today. He bowls his variations. With the red ball, I don't think he's got the confidence. He doesn't believe he's a test match bowler. And as a result, he bowls a lot more bad balls with the red ball. So it's all a question of belief. Trust me, I've played in the nets with him. I've been on tour with him. He's got the talent. He can bowl every ball, and he can bowl it on a whim. He can land it where he wants. But it all comes down to what goes on in your head in international sport.
So Ireland all out for 126 with 7 wickets for the spinners. We've talked about what they must try to do before Sunday's match at Lord's. What about England? We didn't see a great deal of them with the bat, only 20 overs. There's that feeling that they've got all these talented players and they want to get Sam Billings into the side. I mean, just a suggestion. I know this might sound crazy because of last summer Alex Hales made the highest score ever by an England batsman. That if someone is vulnerable to play other players coming in, someone like Sam Billings, you have a certain level, don't you? But you always want to improve. If someone's vulnerable, then it might be Hales.
I know,
because
it's crazy when you think of it.
Exactly, because of the way he plays. He just sometimes he's not got a flawless technique. But he comes out today. Okay, dropped twice. He makes 55.
It's amazing with Hales. Actually, you look at his one-day record. It's phenomenal. His stock plummeted because of how he played in Test cricket, and whereas if you just separated the two forms of the game, which was what a lot of people should do, his stock would still be sky high. But I've seen him get nicked off and caught third slip a lot in Test cricket, and so he's not the one-day player he was. He is. He's brilliant in one-day cricket, but you're right. He did look vulnerable before today. If he'd been caught for naught, he'd have probably been dropped. One thing that's getting to me actually is how Johnny Bairstow struggles to fit in any team at the minute with his bat. He is he's our best player. He has been for 12 months. I'm sure of that in Test cricket.
But who does he come in for?
Well, any of the top 6. I'd put him in ahead of anyone apart from Root.
So you drop Roy?
If need be.
Drop Hales?
If need be, yeah.
Drop Morgan?
Well, I'm not saying drop them. I said he could.
No, but I mean, I'm saying
he's a better player than him.
This is the problem, though. The people selecting England team, and everyone says, "Oh, it's a good problem to have." This is the problem. It's hard to fit. But if you had 7 into 6, isn't it?
If you had Lionel Messi on the bench, but you had Neymar and Ronaldo on the pitch, you'd still want Messi on the field, wouldn't you?
Well, yeah, but
you could take Neymar off.
Well, you could. He's
going to court anyway.
Well, you could accommodate him, but it's not easy to accommodate.
It isn't, no. But the fact that he keeps wicket makes him easy to accommodate. That's the argument for me. So give him the gloves. He's as good a keeper as anyone else in England. So let him keep wicket if he enjoys doing it. If it doesn't affect his batting, which it hasn't. I'm a huge fan of Johnny Bairstow. It's just knowing how he is mentally. He's the most determined cricketer I've ever seen.
Okay, I'm going to really tie you down now.
Go on then. Who am I going to drop?
Exactly. Who are you going to drop?
Right. From this game today. Well, he was playing, so I don't need to drop him.
Well, no. But I mean, from the regular England one-day team, the one that will play in the first match in the Champions Trophy, we know the top 6. We know it's Roy, Hales, Roy, Root, Morgan, Stokes, and Butler.
It's a tricky one.
Exactly.
Well, you can't drop your captain, can you? I'd go on form. Say, Owen, we need a big score from you, mate.
There you are. That's why it's so difficult. I mean, everyone wants Johnny Bairstow in the side, and you want Uncle Tom Cobley all in the side because there's so much talent around. They want Billings in the side, but it just doesn't happen. Now, it might happen gradually.
Yeah. I mean, it'll be organic.
Just hold on one second, Graham. Let's go back to Kevin Howells again.
Got William Porterfield, wasn't it? What can you say about that? Obviously, huge disappointment for you, I guess.
Yeah, it is. Obviously, winning toss and batting would have looked to put a total on the board. We knew it was going to be a little bit there, but we wouldn't have envisaged the spin that was going to do the damage. But look, we haven't done ourselves justice, and we'll be looking to put that right in a couple of days' time. But one big pleasing thing for myself was how Peter Chase went out there with the ball, and we knew it could have been a short spell before lunch, things like that. But we asked for a lot for him to come charging in. He did that, and he got rewards. I thought he bowled very well.
In terms of words being said, there isn't much to say, I guess. Just get back out there and put it right on Sunday.
Yeah, you don't become bad players overnight. Look, I think a lot of the things will be mental between now and then. If you want to get a good hit out tomorrow and do a bit of extra work, then great. But it's going to be a lot upstairs mentally more than anything that the lads will want to put right for Sunday, and that's just freshening up and coming into the game and putting this to bed and leaving it here and coming in fresh for the game on Sunday.
Is there an element of that, of this game, we've now got it out of our system, we can sort of get going, maybe a little bit of nerves or anything like that?
Oh, look, I think that comes down to individual basis. Whether that is or isn't, I wouldn't have thought so. But yeah, I think we just got to be better and apply ourselves a bit more whenever we are out there. The lads showed that we've got a little bit of partnership going up front. We started to rebuild a little bit, but we can't fall away the way we did with the bat. And then I'll ask for a pretty similar attitude with the ball, going out there looking to take wickets, and I can't ask any more for them defending a low total.
And let's not forget Sunday, it's Lords. It's Ireland against England at Lords as well. That's going to lift the players as well. And again, not going to become overwhelming for them.
No, not at all. I think a few lads, a couple of younger lads, might not even have been to Lords, let alone played there. So there's enough experience around that, and they'll get up there in good enough time tonight now. And they'll have plenty of time tomorrow to settle in and see what it's all about. But if that can't pick you up for a game of cricket, then there won't be much that will.
No, thanks for talking to us today, William. Thank you.
Thank you.
William Porterfield, Simon Man.
Thanks very much, Kevin. And that is that one thing that's at the head of Ireland that could lift them. Just briefly, Graham, is a trip to Lords.
That's right. I love what Porterfield said there, actually. He said, if you want to have a hit tomorrow, do it, but it's in the head. It's all mental. You don't become bad players overnight. Couldn't agree with him more. They just need to sit down and say whether it was nerves, as Kevin Howes touched on there, or whether it was something else. They need to play 100% better than that.
Graham, thanks very much indeed. So an early finish here in Bristol. The crowd has made its way away from this Brightside County ground. England have won by 7 wickets with 30 overs to spare. A crushing defeat for Ireland in their first ever one-day international in England. Can they do better on Sunday? Well, you can find out because of commentary on the game. You can watch highlights of today's match via the cricket section of the BBC Sport website. 5 Live Sports Extra listeners will be off to the Oval now for the match between Surrey and Middlesex. Every ball of every county game available via the cricket section of the BBC Sport website. We'll be back at 11:15 on Sunday for the second game. Goodbye for now.
Hello, 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 hello. Yes, you've arrived seamlessly in this extraordinary fashion, the miracle, the wonder of radio. You've made it all the way from Bristol, a cold Bristol, I hear, to a very cold, blustery and windy Oval in Kennington. And I am delighted to tell you that I am joined by the doyen of Middlesex cricket, Kevin Hand. Welcome, Kevin.
I'm quite toasty in here. Are you cold?
Well, I was colder when I went outside.
Oh, okay, yeah.
I went out to sample the atmosphere.
Yeah.
And
how was it?
Well, there are an awful lot of people here for a series of corporate functions who are all dressed
like Johnny Barron.
Quite heavy coats.
Oh, I see.
Yes. Yes, we have Johnny Barron, we have Mark Church, and most importantly, you've arrived at just the perfect time because there's about 10 or 11 minutes to go before the players will come back out. At the moment, the spectators, as is traditional here at the Oval, are milling around on the green sward of the Oval. A ground itself that was seeded from the very grass of Tootingbeck Common. It is... Did you know that?
I did not know that.
Yes,
is that true?
That's true. That's true. The first grass at the Oval came from Tootingbeck Common Loam.
That is
fantastic. And you are a man of that parish to think that you've turned your back on the hand that fed you when your father was tending his goats and sheep on common land. But no, you decided to head further north for the glorious pastures of Thomas Lord's own ground. But no, here at the Oval, it's everywhere in South London. For those of you who aren't really familiar, a large part of South London has common land: Clapham Common, Wandsworth Common, Streatham Common, Tooting Common, Wimbledon Common, which basically means, for the uninitiated in North London, where you have parks which are owned by landed gentry and councils, here you have common land, and you can take anything you want. You can take your dogs, your cats, your sheep, your cattle, because we're a bit like that. We're a feral bunch south of the river, and the Oval is a bit like that at the moment, as the denizens of Surrey County Cricket Club are meandering quite slowly off the ground and towards the pavilion, where they tend to huddle in groups of cold and frozen members for hours on end. And today they have been witness to what has been.
I'm not interrupting
you're
this. This is
looking at-
brilliant. This is your moment. The Tooting Massive having their moment on air. No, I'm not going to interrupt on this.
Power to the people. We've had a very, very interesting game so far. One innings has been completed, which is why your arrival is so perfectly timed. Well done to the England team for dispatching Ireland with such haste to get here for the London derby. And Middlesex made. It'll sound like not a particularly good score by comparison with all the other scores which I'm going to give you in a moment. 243 for 9 they made in their 50 overs, but I can assure you that conditions for batting have not been easy, and they weren't the other day against Essex when Surrey posted what we thought was a dismal 210, but Essex only got home in the last over by 1 wicket. So I think we're in for another low scorer. Whether it's going to be a thriller, whether Surrey can push the might of Middlesex's splendid bowling attack close, or whether they will be blown away by the likes of Roland Jones, Helm, Franklin, only time will tell. But I think we've got a bit of an exciting game on our hands, Kevin Hand.
What they need to be wary of, Middlesex, is that if they look at their own card, on reflection they'll say Nick Gubbins 65 at the top, David Milan with just 14, but there was 41 put on for the first partnership for the opening wicket, and everything was looking good at that point. In the 9th over, Milan thought, okay, time to perhaps gamble with this power play, hold out to deep square. He was gone for 14, but Gubbins 65, Milan 14, then you've got Compton 0, Vogis 9, Simpson 75, Higgins 8, Fuller 35. It's feast or famine for Middlesex there, and if a couple of there is batting to be had, and actually Gubbins and Simpson look very good for their knocks. Now if a couple of Surrey batsmen at the top of the order get going and their card looks top heavy, then that's going to be enough. They won't need to worry about the rest.
But what we did see, and we saw it again, against Essex and again here today, is that the batsmen who play within themselves, who don't look to get too ahead of themselves, don't want to play too far away from their bodies. This is not a pitch for smashing the ball through the line and making your own width. This is a pitch for accumulation, and the best players on this pitch in the last couple of games have been the ones who have not decided, hang on, we need to go at 8, 9, 10 and over. You can go at 4, 5, 6, but at the moment you start to look to accelerate, it's tricky. So if Middlesex pick up a couple of early wickets and they apply the squeeze, it'll be very difficult for Surrey to get back into it, because at no point did Middlesex really look like consistently going at 7s or 8s and over, and they certainly didn't the other day.
And applying the squeeze is the key thing, because there is a relatively short boundary to one side. What is it? It's not a 60-yard boundary, is it? Square of the wicket.
Yeah.
As we look away to the right, sitting at the Vauxhall end. And also that means down the ground to third man, as the left-hander would be on strike as he was earlier. I remember Franklin targeting that boundary on a couple of occasions. Mark Church was suggesting that's the shortest part of all of this boundary away to our right-hand side. But just down below us here as well, there is a shorter boundary, so that's where all of a sudden 243 could become very low. But in this Royal London One Day Cup block that we've got early in the season, people shouldn't really be expecting 350s. 350s are definitely match-winning scores, and even as we saw down at the Ageas Bowl the other night for Middlesex, 295, Middlesex thought, oh, maybe we're 20 or so light, and they probably were 20 or so light, of feeling at the interval that's a match-winning score. But in the end, 295 was more than enough to beat Hampshire that evening. So, I think they just need to be careful here, Middlesex. A couple of early wickets will make this a very, very good game. But equally, those scores that we said, Gubbins 65, Simpson 75, Franklin 35 at the end, he was trying to hit out, wasn't he, when he fell. It was just at that period where you thought Middlesex would accelerate and maybe push to 280. And at that point, I think that would have just tipped the balance slightly. That you'd have started to favour Middlesex. At this point, a couple of early wickets is going to be a very good game, but I probably would at this point just favour Surrey on this one.
Well, indeed, it's that tight, it's that exciting. I'm not. I don't know which way to call it. It's if the evidence of the other day is anything to go by, then, well, we just could be in for a nail-biter. I do so hope so. I've seen a lot of really good games in the Royal London One Day Cup. Yesterday's was one of the more disappointing, and even that had moments of thrillerness to it. We're just taking advice on stuff at the moment, but we'll be right back with you. Now then, well, what I wanted to say and wanted to pick up on was the notion that 350 is a winning score. I totally agree with you, especially this time of year, but here has been the exception, the 240s, 230s, 210s. elsewhere around the country, runs galore. There have been runs galore all over the gaff. Let me run you through some of those, because I was supposed to do this to Test Match Special, but the thoughtlessness of England's batting meant that I'm afraid Radio 5 Live Sports Extra listeners haven't had the opportunity perhaps to hear the scores around the country yet. So here they are. Leicestershire, after collapsing to 14 for 4 and then 76 for 6, have posted a probably below par, but nonetheless at least vaguely defendable 211 against Durham. Zach Chappell, the very promising Zach Chappell, 59 not out from 82. Dieter Klein, 26. They put on for the 9th wicket, those two, 73 runs. Durham in reply at 11 without loss in the 3rd over. Glamorgan have just started their reply to Somerset's 338 for 3, and there were big runs there for Jim Allenby, 144 not out. Dean Elgar again, 96 from 100 balls. Peter Trigger got a century the other day, only 15 today, a century from Roelof van der Merwe the other day. I think that makes 4 centurions for Somerset already in this competition. Don't forget, they're unbeaten at the moment, 3 out of 3. So they made 338 for 3, 1 without loss, Glamorgan in their reply, which has just started. Kent, for whom Daniel Bell-Drummond scored 138 off exactly 138 balls. Very pleasing numerical symmetry there. Powered Kent to 331 for 7 against Sussex. They need a victory too. I think they've lost their first 2 of Kent. Up to the North Group, Lancashire 324 for 8 against Northants. It's runs galore everywhere. 61 for Dane Villa, 79 Steve McLaren, 76 not out Jordan Clark, 58 for Carl Brown. And what else do we have? We have 303 for 6 for Nottinghamshire. Billy Root, Joe's brother, got 107. Now, it behoves me, as we approach 10 past 3, for those of you listening on Longwave, to let you know that we're going to have to say goodbye to you very shortly, those of you who've been listening to England against Ireland. And as a result, I'm going to try and squeeze in for you, before you do go, the last of the scorecards. Worcester 342 against Yorkshire. Runs for Tom Kohler-Cadmore 118 and Daryl Mitchell 69, and that, I believe, has you up to date with all the scores from around the Royal London One Day Cup today, as Surrey make their way out the Royal London Cup One Day matches. If you want to continue to hear this run chase, head over to 5 Live Sports Extra, well, pretty much immediately, because we're now saying goodbye to you on Radio 4 Longwave. And we'd never left Radio 5 Live Sports Extra. and I am indebted. I'm indebted to my colleagues Kevin Hand and Mark Church for interpreting a text that was sent to me. And their experience has got me out of a hole there.
We have queued far worse situations than that over the years, Churchy and I.
Thank you very much. That was splendid. One of the longest scribbled notes I've ever seen.
I must admit,
it was helpful.
It was a queue. That was a full-on queue.
It really, sorry.
A seamless queue for you.
It was absolutely magnificent, and it helped me out no end. So we're now here, totally alone on 5 Live Sports Extra with you, the glorious listener. If you want to get hold of us, it's the usual places. It is Kevin Hand.
At Kevin Hand BBC.
At Norcross Cricket. At Back and Across, which is the new. For those of you who aren't aware, it's where Mark Church has emigrated to from Surrey Cricket.
And at Johnny Barron PLC.
And at Johnny Barron is at Johnny Barron, is it not? And also, I think if you want to follow his butler, he is available at Bergholt House. I think that's correct.
I haven't followed that one yet on Twitter. I have to find that one.
Oh, you must. There's a very interesting tweet this morning. His Highness apparently liked to dunk his soldiers into a boiled egg this morning.
Oh, I see.
Which explains it's a little bit later.
The amazing revelation to me in the interval was somehow, I think it was via Fabian Cowdrey, who's going to be joining the commentary team later this week. His brother is on Made in Chelsea, which I've never seen.
What, Johnny Barron or Fabian Cowdrey?
Fabian Cowdrey's brother. However, titty ye not. Johnny Barron then proceeded to say, well, the funny thing, I said, I've never seen Made in Chelsea. I said, is it reality TV or is it scripted? He said, well, it's a bit of both. It's scripted reality TV. Okay, fair enough. He says, the amazing thing about Made in Chelsea, it reminds me, and I thought, he's not going to say it, is he? He's not going to say it. He said it. It reminds me of my childhood. Apparently he grew up on the King's Road, Johnny Barron, and Made in Chelsea reminds him of his childhood. So there we go.
King's Road, did he? I suppose that must be quite odd for a baron to grow up on the King's Road. That's pretty much the only place where a baron might feel sort of a little bit lower class. Anyway, enough of this wibble. The players have made their way out, I'm delighted to say, made their way out onto the ground, and it's going to be Middlesex who are going to defend this 243. I urge you, those of you listening who think, 243, that's not going to be enough. There's no way that Middlesex will defend that. Not one bit of it. This is a low-scoring pitch at the moment here at the Oval. The 210 against Essex the other day, and that was hard work getting to that 210, and a very hard work for Essex to get past it. 9 wickets down they were at the end of that. So I think you could even argue that Middlesex are just a touch above par thanks to those 2 excellent innings from Gubbins and Simpson. Either way, it's the sort of game, Kevin Hand, that I really love. I love these low-scoring thrillers. I could, of course, be proved entirely wrong. Surrey could be blown away for 100, or they might march to 244 with 10 overs left, but I don't think they will. And now there's a rejig at the top of the order for Surrey. And the 2 Durham men, this is very interesting. Mark Stoneman and Scott Borthwick opening now. Borthwick's been batting down at number 6 before. I wonder if this is a sign that they feel they've got to see off the new ball, and they're going to have to play this a little bit traditionally, not quite as traditionally as Geoffrey Boycott and Mike Brearley in the 1979 World Cup that had me tearing my hair out at the age of 10, which is why I am now bald. Thank you, Geoffrey. But
have you taken this up with him?
No, I wouldn't dare. I would not dare. But I'm sure he isn't listening at the moment, so I'm getting it off my chest.
Oh, fair enough.
And the field is a relatively aggressive one. We have a slip in. There's going to be a short mid-wicket. There's mid-on, square leg, long leg, third man, cover point extra, and a mid-off. Opening the bowling from the Vauxhall end, it will be Toby Rowland-Jones. And taking first strike is going to be Mark Stoneman.
Toby Rowland-Jones at the Ageas Bowl the other evening. He took 4 for 10 from his 7 overs. 2 maidens. Ooh. That is what Surrey have to be wary of here at the start. If they have a good start, Surrey, then I fancy that they will make this look like a slightly below par total. But a couple of wickets at the top, and then it is going to be that fabulous run chase that we expect.
Well, here comes the strike bowler, Toby Rowland-Jones. Runs away from us, and the first delivery is driven without much timing up to mid-off. But as a result, Stoneman's able to get through for a quick single as Dawid Malan fields at that wide mid-off. 1 without loss straight away, and I really think this is significant that Borthwick has been put up the order. I mean, in part it's because Dominic Sibley isn't there, but Rory Burns, who opens in 4-day cricket, you thought might have opened instead. I think putting Borthwick up there is a signal of intent that Surrey intend would be. I think Surrey would be really happy if after 10 overs there were 41 without loss.
Absolutely. He has an incredible record against Middlesex, Scott Borthwick.
Does he?
Yes, in his time with Durham.
Bothersome
Borthwick. There we go. You have been listening.
I listen. That was old Mother Murtagh's. Yes. More of that in a moment. Rowland-Jones in. He's got 2 slips with the Bothersome Borthwick. Oh, drives! Misses. That was a very loose shot for a man who I thought had been put up the order to provide some solidity. And the first ball, he chases wide. It goes into the gloves of the keeper. For all the world, I thought he got an edge on it.
That's a tempting boundary for the left-hander, isn't it?
That's the problem.
But Rowland-Jones does extract that little bit of bounce. So even when he is just a tad full of the length, you've got to be careful driving.
So, a question for you.
Yes.
Because of that tempting boundary, and you've got 2 slips in, do you actually weirdly put it out there in the hope of picking up some wickets early rather than sort of defending that boundary as Rowland-Jones kicks up his heels and runs away from us? And there it is on a length just outside off stump, and this time Borthwick, who I think has probably said to himself, what were you doing? And now defends this perfectly.
And that one was probably more there for the drive than the previous one.
Yes,
but do you put it?
It's a half volley. He's pushed extra cover. Yeah.
Look, against Rowland-Jones, I think they could get themselves in more trouble than do too much damage. Yes, they probably could, in some sense, win this in the power play because it's such a relatively small total in this day and age of one-day cricket. So they could do a lot of damage, but equally they could get themselves into all sorts of trouble in the power play.
This is thrilling stuff. Rowland-Jones in, and that's driven into the ground, and fielded rather awkwardly at extra cover. Who's that number?
That looked like Nick Gubbins.
That is Nick Gubbins. You're dead right, that's Nick Gubbins. Now, I'm presuming that one of those slips is going to be Ollie Rayner.
Yes, second slip.
Now, the thing is, Ollie Rayner, who has got the safest hands in the Middlesex team and in many teams, he had a bit of a shocker, didn't he, lately? Is that because he had a bit of an injury or something?
I think
he dropped a couple in the slip.
He dropped a couple.
Like him.
He dropped one and it injured his hand, and it led to him being a mid-wicket as a result.
Oh, is that what it was? Rowland-Jones is in again to Scott Borthwick. who defends the ball on his leg stump. They're coming through for a really quick single, shy of the stumps, misses. It's well backed up by two fielders who are now in a very intimate embrace.
I shouldn't laugh just in case he has hurt himself, but yes, the final position for those two.
Well, I've seen that in an Indian instruction manual, but it's not something that one tends to see too often. And,
they were cuddling, weren't they? They were cuddling.
They were, and it was perfectly charming. Two without loss.
He may have the spikes of David Milan down his right shin, Nick Gubbins. Gubbins in the field, you mentioned him being slightly awkward there. Of course, Gubbins of infamy, or fame really, in that Surrey T20. Do you remember when he took the catch down below Old Father Tyne, 28,000 inside Laws, gave it the full double fist bump, and then turned towards his teammates to celebrate, forgot to turn with the bottom half of his body, and his feet stayed where they were. He just ended up flat on the floor on his face in front of 28,000, having given it the full-on fist pump. But yes, for Gubbins, that was an awkward one. He repeated it the other evening, actually.
Roland Jones into Stoneman this time, who drives nicely straight. They're going to come through for another quick single, and it's well taken actually, because it was side to the left of Milan, and he set off instantly, did Stoneman. He gets a single, he keeps the strike. Surrey are 3 without loss, and that's 1 over of Roland Jones negotiated.
And they grabbed it on Twitter. It was a televised game, wasn't it? So that's how. He was on the boundary rope. 3 of them two of them went sliding for the ball, which had Gubbins also charging. It was a bit like when that catch drops in between 3 fielders. Was on a boundary rope, but 3 of them were charging to try and stop it. In the end, Gubbins went splattering over the other 2, as the ball was just about kept in, I think, by the 3 of them in total. But
you see
poor old Gubbins.
You see a lot more of it now than I bet happened in the 1920s, because as a general rule, once the ball went past the infield, that was it. You know, one sent one's butler to go and retrieve it, and then they gave it back to you. But nowadays, I mean, there was the terrible incident between Rory Burns and Moses Enriquez the other 2 years ago at Arundel, and actually, I don't know if you saw a couple of days ago, Ben Stokes and Stephen Smith on the boundary in an IPL game. More of that in a moment, as the first ball of a new over is delivered to Stoneman. He gets up on his toes, pushes it to backward point. There's no run. It is Helm who's starting up from the pavilion end. Yes, it went over the boundary, and Stokes, absolutely brilliant catch, two-handed over the boundary, and then was trying to flick the ball back. But Stephen Smith, who of course doesn't like to see an Englishman get any kind of glory, had got in his way, and over the boundary, as he was trying to push the ball back, he inadvertently, we think, hurled Stephen Smith into the boundary boards, where he banged his head. There's Helm bowls again, and that's poked at outside the off stump by Stoneman. No run. And I tell you what, I've seen a bit of Helm lately. Kevin Hand's seen an awful lot more. But one of the things that I've noticed in Helm, in the 2 games I've seen in this season, is that people underestimate his pace. He's forever doing people for pace, and it's partly his action, it's partly the fact that he is a quick bowler, and Stoneman there was way late on the shot, through to the keeper, no run. He's an impressive young man, Helm. He runs towards us from the pavilion end, and Stoneman covers up in defence, and again he's late on that, jabbing down at the last minute, no run, fielded off his own bowling.
I keep saying you don't hear cricketers talking about youngsters. In fact, in sport in general, you don't hear cricketers talking about youngsters coming through and putting a lot on their shoulders. Stephen Finn has said time and time again, Tom Helm is going to play for England. If he doesn't, then he has no idea what he's talking about, Stephen Finn. These are his words. He believes Tom Helm's that good. He is just going to play for England.
How tall is he?
He's about 6'5", so he's not quite rivaling Finn at 6'8".
It'll do. He's in again and bowls another back of a length ball, which has worked short mid-wicket, no run.
What he seems to have is the pace of Finn, but the bounce of Roland Jones. So he's a perfect mix of both. Because you just mentioned it there, you know, that he'll hit a couple of yards. Oh, dearie me. What's going on outside?
The wind has, I think, just sent a plastic cup hurtling along the gully below our effects mic. So if you heard a very strange noise, it wasn't.
Makes the ground sound rather empty, doesn't it? It's a bit like you can see that dust ball now rolling across in front of the bowler as he runs in.
Helm to Stoneman, who drives, but again without timing. He's a tricky customer, is Helm. Drives to mid-off, there's no run.
It is rather busy, though, we should say, the crowd today. It looks reasonably healthy over there at the pavilion end.
I haven't checked them out individually. I don't know how healthy they are, but I'm sure. I'm sure in this bracing wind they'll be feeling splendid.
But Helm, yeah, the thing with Helm is it is that he has.
That's brilliant.
There's the replay of
I've just been
dear old Nick Gubbins last night.
Show me this again. Well, pause it while I do this ball. Helm in to Stoneman. He gets up on his toes and pushes it to backward point. That completes a maiden over from Tom Helm. 3 without loss, Surrey. Stoneman 2, Borthwick 1.
We'll
Right.
retweet it for the tweeters. You
Okay.
press replay there yourself when you're ready.
So-
But yes, Helm, very, very exciting prospects.
So yes, fielder 1, fielder 2. Oh, I say it's like a sort of, it's almost like a sort of synchronised, not synchronised swimming, but it's
Synchronised diving.
acrobatics. It's synchronised gymnastics of some kind. I like that a lot.
Yes. Poor old Gubbins, he does always seem to be on the wrong end in the fields.
Classy side, Middlesex. So when they can do things like that, synchronised acrobatics and win the county championship, I mean, you've got to take your hats off, even from this vantage point in South London. As Toby Rowland-Jones comes in to bowl the 3rd over of Surrey's innings in this, the London derby. He runs away from us, and Borthwick just drives a full-length ball, but it gets stuck in bat and foot and pad, and then it rather elegiac fashion, just rolls into the stumps at the other end, and the bails just plop off and are now being replaced. We've got Gunnar Gould here today, who's always fun. I always like watching Gunnar Gould umpire. He's a magnificently fruity gentleman.
Apart from when he took them off at 20-5 in broad daylight the other day at Lords. That was in the Essex match. Came back to haunt Middlesex that at the end. 20-5 they came off in the first day. And
I didn't know he was the umpire.
He was. Then they couldn't start until 11 the next day. But then he kept them on in near pitch black on the final day as Middlesex looked for the final 2 wickets. It was extraordinary.
Rowland-Jones in again. He's got 3, saving 1 on the offside as Borthwick just works this into the leg side. He's going to pick up a single for it. Think about a second, it certainly isn't there. Borthwick moves to 2, Surrey move to 4 without loss. We're in the 3rd over. They're chasing, if you've just joined us on 5 Live Sports Extra, they're chasing 244 to win.
With what you've just seen of Helm and the expectations on his young shoulders, I should add he's had a couple of injury-plagued years, but not worryingly injury-plagued in terms of long-term ramifications. One was he turned his ankle while fielding on the boundary down at Hove last year. It put him out for a long, long while, more than just turned it.
Oh, right. So ligaments,
yeah,
probably.
But not long-term damage.
Rowland-Jones on a Vauxhall end, in now to Stoneman. And he cuts this down to 3rd man. I think it'll just be the one as 3rd man moves to his left to field. There is just the one. The throw comes in, 5 without loss.
The other injury was a stress fracture of the back, which does sound terrible, but the Middlesex bowling coach Richard Johnson describes it as pretty much a rite of passage nowadays for bowlers. They all seem to get one and then they forget about it for the rest of their career. If they don't get one, then they're worried because it's on the way, but once it's been and gone, they don't worry about it again anymore.
Is there an initiation ceremony?
Yeah, indeed. Yes.
Or is that what causes it?
I'm not going to go any further on that point. What might cause a stress fracture of the back?
Who knows? Rowland-Jones, wearing number 21, comes into Borthwick, who covers up in defence, pushes up to mid-off, where Howard Milan does the fielding, and there is no run.
So yes, although it sounds terrible, we're told don't worry about it, it's been and gone, he's fine, it's not a long-term problem for a fast bowler, because generally you'd think that doesn't sound too good. So that's been his last couple of years basically to this point.
Is that particularly prevalent in the young, perhaps because they're not quite as strong or conditioned? Yeah.
Yep, apparently so. So that's been the last couple of years, and why perhaps you're thinking, well, hold on a minute, I haven't particularly heard of Tom Helm. Where's he been for the last couple of years? And that's where he's been injured, but not long-term problems, and Middlesex really do think the world of this guy.
Well, I rate him from what I've seen. Rowland-Jones in again, and that's got a thick edge and squirts down to 3rd man. Borthwick moves to 3. He was looking really to sort of defend that, but it's got his thick outside edge. And Surrey are dealing just in singles at the moment. They're 6 without loss. They won't mind that though, because what they'll want to do is blunt the 2 new balls. Don't forget, there's a new ball at each end, and there's 2 very, very good young fast bowlers bowling at them.
Well, it's blunt these bowlers, isn't it? That's what we're talking about, really, isn't it? For
10 overs of dig in almost.
It is, yeah. If they have a reasonable power play. With Middlesex, as I say, in the 9th over, you saw Milan say, all right, well, we're 9 overs in now, let's gamble one of those wickets. He got out at deep backward square leg.
Not sure Surrey will want to do that. And there's Rowland-Jones bowls to Stoneman, and he works this nicely off, actually, middle and leg, but down to long leg for a single.
But maybe towards the back end of the power play you do. You say, all right, if we're 0 down, then we'll gamble 1. Are you off already?
I am.
Oh.
I've got to go and administer to a different parish.
Oh, dear.
I've got to go and put my mitre on. Or whatever it is one does when one does this. But you've got the mighty Mark Church.
Excellent. Thank you very much, Daniel Norcross. 5 Live Sports Extra and BBC Radio London here at the Oval for the first derby in the capital this year, the first of many. A couple of T20s and of course the championship fixtures, the first of which is but a couple of weeks away at Lords, and I shall look forward greatly to having Mark Church alongside me for that one as well, and Johnny Barrett As here's Tom Helm from the pavilion end. He's right arm over the wicket, bowls. This ball nips back in and it's turned back at a square on the leg side for a single. Stoneman moves to 5. Borthwick moves on to strike. It's 8 without loss. And good afternoon for the first time in the run chase, Mark.
Good afternoon, and good afternoon to everybody. This is going to be hard work for Surrey. I think that's not a bad total.
So you're going to say this is going to be hard work for the listeners?
No,
Cross and I.
Could be with me on air, but yeah, I think 2-4-3 is a pretty good total from Middlesex. We saw on Tuesday. It's the same pitch, to explain, that was used for the game between Surrey and Essex on Tuesday, and that was hard work for the batsmen. It's been hard work for the batsmen today, and every time we've thought we've had a partnership, a wicket has fallen, and we're using the whole ground as well, so it's a huge playing area today.
Helm bowls just short of length, and Borthwick plays into the offside, no run.
And we were saying as well that sort of the Royal London One Day Cup, and you're sort of preparing players for one day international cricket, and you know, this we've heard here on BBC Radio 5 Live Sports Extra, England beating Ireland today, but because of the nature of the amount of cricket, pitches go across the square, and you often find that you've got a very short boundary on one side in the Royal London One Day Cup. Not here again today. We're using the entire playing area today.
Helm bowls, quick single taken to the mid-on fielder. Oh, now, if that had have struck, then that was a very poorly judged run, I think, from Borthwick. We're probably in agreement with the fielders, aren't we? He was struggling there.
Yeah, and he knew he was. He didn't really get off the mark when the gun went. He could have sort of went after the B of bang there after he'd pushed it up towards mid-on, and he knew he was struggling, and he was putting the dip in at the end, the sort of Usain Bolt,
the Luke Fletcher
dip, but Franklin didn't hit the stumps.
Helm bowls to Stoneman, worked off his hip to the short fine leg, takes a single. 10 without loss in the fourth over. Surrey 244 the target.
I think in these sort of situations, as a batting side chasing, you just play properly, you play normally here. You're not trying to leather every ball for 4 or knock it out the ground. The run rate required is 5.5. Now, as long as you've got wickets in hand, you can pick that up, but if you lose wickets up top on a pitch like this, it's going to be very difficult to drag it back.
Helm bowls Stoneman forward, pushing to mid on another dot ball.
And again, both Toby Rowland-Jones and Tom Helm have hit a good line and a good length on or around the top of the off stump. Because for the left-hander, and we've got 2 lefties opening for Surrey, it's a huge cover boundary. You've got to time it to perfection. Helm knows, though, if he drops short to these two, it's a very short leg side boundary from the pavilion end.
Helm to Borthwick, bowls edged, and slips wide, and it's gone between the slip and the keeper. I just looked at that a moment ago, and Ollie Rayner is a step wider than he'd usually be at slip, just trying to cover a bit more ground, and no blame on the keeper, as you'd usually think there is if a catch goes between keeper and slip. Not on this occasion, because Rayner was a good step wider of the normal slip position. It's gone straight through them, and it's 4 more to the total. Borthwick moves to 8, Stoneman has 6, 14 without loss. Surrey chasing 244. That's the end of the 4th over here on 5 Live Sports Extra and BBC Radio London.
Yeah, Ollie Rayner there, it's a left-hander, and you're floating between second and first slip, and you see him going for the big booming drive. Your natural reaction is outside edge, I'll go to my left. So he's gone to his left, and then he's had to come back to his right. It's almost like a really good inside centre at rugby, just giving you the eyes there. He drops the shoulder and you go that way, and then he goes the other.
Still pretty wide, isn't he? As here's Rowland-Jones beginning the new over from the Vauxhall end. He's right arm over, he bowls full, and that's driven up to mid-on. That's I thought they were going to think about this. Well, they did think about it, but there wasn't a single in the end. Franklin, the skipper, and he's the man who collects the ball. 14 without loss.
Yeah, but if you're in that position, he's got long arms, as he's long, is Rayner, isn't he, in there, and he's got long arms. If you see the left-hander drive through the covers, your natural reaction is outside edge, you go to your left. That's what he's done. He's gone to his left, and then he's had to come back to his right.
Rowland-Jones, glorious sunshine, floodlights on, but glorious sunshine at the moment at the Oval as this ball comes back into the left-handed Stoneman, dropping it into the offside. It's fielded at cover. Yes, I mean, Dan was analysing batting order for Surrey. I think against Rowland-Jones and Helm, the scenario here is pretty clear, because your change bowler then is the explosive Fuller, fast, but with that pace can come a slightly erratic line and length, and at that point, especially with the shorter boundary today, then Surrey can think about trying to put away the bad balls.
But I had one other scenario at the back of the box, but it was a gamble scenario.
Helm. Roland Jones. Ball's just full of length, and it's cut away. The width played with by Stoneman. A tumbling stop. Oh, it was Helm who rolled to stop it, but the ball squirted away just behind him and does trickle over the boundary rope for 4. Stoneman's on to 10. 18 without loss.
Good bit of batting that from Stoneman. Short third man. That's the shortest boundary for him. Just a tiny bit of width. Not much from Roland Jones, and he's just flung his hands through it. The gamble option I came up with was Tom Curran at the top of the order, and say go out there and play some shots.
Yeah.
It might come off, it might.
Well, we were saying you could win it in the power play here, couldn't you?
But that would have been a huge gamble option. He's done it before. He's open for Surrey in the 2020. He's open in the Championship.
Well, Middlesex gambled, but not until late in the power play. Here's Roland Jones. He bowls, and on the back foot, this is pushed to extra cover. 18 without loss, in particular when you're batting first. I think less so when you're batting second, but when you're batting first, and you had Milan and Gubbins out there going nicely, but into the 9th over of power play 1, so only the 2 back, and 41 on the boards. I think at that point, no wickets down, you have to think as the batsman, right, do we try and find some boundaries here? We're in the 9th over. There's only 41 on the board. We've got all 10 wickets standing. Can we risk one?
See, I think Milan, this is the right shot. Just didn't pull it out the bag.
Yeah.
You know, it was a short ball, and it's off to the shortest side of the ground. He just didn't get hold of it really.
Roland Jones past the umpire bowls, and length delivery. No, it's an appeal for LBW, but it was a length delivery, and a length delivery from Roland Jones is generally hitting your hip almost. So
that gamble option I talk about would have been, let's say, Tom Curran opening and just coming down and trying to knock these two off a line of length. Now they're both really good bowlers, but it just gives the bowler a little bit to think about. But the route that Surrey have gone down, which is the route I expected Surrey to go down, was let's do this properly up top. Borthwick, Stoneman, Sangakkara coming in at 3, then Burns, just to knock it around with folks. And maybe the reason they haven't done that as well is to leave some power at the back end, but it would have been another option, perhaps.
Stoneman on strike. Roland Jones is in. He bowls onto the pads, and he's played on. Well, that's a very unlucky dismissal from Stoneman. I must say that ball's probably pitched outside leg. I doubt very much you'd have seen an appeal for LBW. I think that's almost deflected off 2 of his both pads on its way through to the stumps as Stoneman looked to work into the onside. So often we see it, don't we? A ball roll down the pads and we say, oh, that could have rolled on. It did on this occasion. Stoneman's gone 18 for 1 in the 6th over here on 5 Live Sports Extra and BBC Radio London.
Well, it's a horrible way to get out. He's with Roland Jones coming over the wicket to him, right arm over. He's jumped across his stumps to try and nudge it down towards fine leg, and I think it's probably hit the back of his leg, dropped behind him, and he's watched it. It's like slow torture, this. He's just watched it roll back onto his stumps and hasn't had time to react and try and get the bat on it to stop it. So Stoneman goes for 10. It brings Sangakkara. Kumar Sangakkara out to the middle, and Middlesex have an early wicket in the 5th over here on BBC Radio 5 Live Sports Extra and BBC Radio London in the Royal London One Day Cup. Surrey chasing 244, 18 for 1, and Kumar Sangakkara, who for listeners on BBC Radio 5 Live Sports Extra and for Middlesex listeners as well might not be aware, became the 4th leading run scorer in List A cricket behind Gooch, Hick and Tendulkar at Glamorgan on Sunday. He's gone past 19,000 List A runs now, Kumar Sangakkara. So yes, quite a milestone that, and when you looked at the list of names, and number 4 on the list as the wind gets up again and blows Daniel Norcross down in front of us across the gantry. It's a blowy old day now, isn't it?
It is. There's the floodlights on, as you say here. Blue skies immediately above us. Very pleasant to see. Here comes Helm, beginning the 6th over of the innings. Is that right? Yes, he bowls, and this is turned into the onside. There's no run. So that was the last ball of the 5th. I see. Mark Church picked up the Dan Norcross role, and now we're back to the rota, which says Johnny Barron sitting down to summarise alongside me for the next 5, and then I'm out of the way for Mark Church. I see.
Hello.
I was very confused. Hello, Johnny Barron. Johnny made in Chelsea Barron.
Well, really.
Well, yes, really. It reminds me of my childhood, that show. Here's Helm. He's in, bowls, and this ball's pushed to extra cover. 18 for 1. That was a quote and a half from you, Joe B. I was never going to let you off for that.
I didn't realise it would be featuring on network radio.
You should have done.
To be honest.
You should have done. So into the 6th over here on 5 Live Sports Extra and BBC Radio London. Daniel Norcross, Mark Church, Johnny Barron and myself, Kevin Hand. Oh, look.
That's the place in question.
That was the residence, the Barron residence.
Still is.
Your youth. Lovely. Lovely. Here's Helm. Bowls, and this is pushed back by Borthwick, and there's no run.
Sun's out, floodlights on, marvellous.
So this is a full-on home fixture for you then, isn't it? It's about 20 minute stroll and a little bit long.
Well, I consider myself a Suffolk boy, really.
You consider yourself
a Suffolk boy, really?
Oh,
yeah.
Despite the fact you were brought up on the King's Road.
Well, that's where I play my cricket, you see.
Oh, okay.
It's a long, complicated family. I won't bore you with it.
Oh, that's right. You're linked to royalty, aren't you? Here's the Helm bowls and forward goes Stoneman, pushed to extra cover. 18 for 1. No do balls. Who is it now? King Edward's what now?
Don't you start.
No, go on. Remind us. Who was it? This all came out on 5 Live Sports Extra last year, didn't it?
Did it?
It did.
It
yeah.
might have done.
Lords. It might have done.
I'm not revisiting that one.
Norcross is probably outside having a fag at the moment, so you're going to have to take him through it all again in a minute as well.
No, I think
who is it? What was it? You're related to who? You go back to who in your ancestry?
Charles II.
Charles II, that was it.
Yeah, but I mean,
his Helm bowls, and this is driven to cover by Borthwick. 18 for 1. Oh, a slight misfield at cover, so 19 for 1. It's actually picked up in the end by mid-off.
Yeah, but since Danny Dyer's like second cousin to the Queen, it's not that exciting anymore.
Okay.
Is it?
Is that right?
Something like that. He's a direct cousin.
Yeah.
I think of one of the recent kings and queens. Yes.
So brought up on the King's Road and a descendant of Charles II. There we go.
Oh, Kevin Hand, you are cruel.
Cruel, eh?
Well, there I was, just idle banter at the back of the box. And
there's us common lads, Norcross and I from Tooting. Here comes Helm bowls, and this is dropped into the offside by Sangakkara for no run.
Don't be fooled by Norcross.
Oh, I'm not fooled for a moment.
Underneath that Marxist exterior is a strong Dulwich College background.
Absolutely. 19 for 1. That's
he may wave the Tooting Popular Front flag at Wolfie Smith at you, but underneath it all.
Oh, you're a brave man, Baron. He's out of the box at the moment. Somebody will be tweeting him, but his ears should be burning. Here's Roland Jones down below us, continuing. Chat with the mid-on fielder, which is his captain, James Franklin, and the mid-off, which looks like David Milan. I'm sure it is. When he turns his back, it'll confirm the number 29 on his back. The Middlesex T20 captain, but won't be starting the competition as captain this year because Brendan McCullum will be captain of Middlesex. Now that Daniel Vittoria has come in as the Middlesex T20 coach, and he wants his man from Brisbane Heat being the Middlesex captain to begin the competition. Here's a full delivery from Roland Jones, stroke to Milan at mid-off, and through for a single is Borthwick, moving to 10.
Yeah, it's a very interesting move by Middlesex towards the T20s, isn't it?
Yeah,
it's been an area of weakness since that dramatic win in 8. Extraordinary, which sent you and Church on a wonderful all expenses paid to the Caribbean, which we touched on already. But since then, it's been a bit scrappy, hasn't it?
It has. Last year they got to the quarter-finals. I didn't fancy their chances of winning it last year, even though they did get out of the group into the quarter-finals. This year, it is a very strong team, and with a coach who will be coming in and hitting that squad hard with T20 tactics, then it should be an interesting year. Roland Jones bowls just full of length, and forward goes Sangakkara, prodding into the offside. And List A, you look through the side and you think this should be a very good List A side as well, but it does seem to be feast or famine for Middlesex in List A cricket. Either they're very good, like Hampshire and Sussex, or they somehow manage to find a way of losing games like Gloucestershire. And well, here today, that total of 243 in the end is probably a little bit disappointing. From they're about 118 for 3, I think it was, when Churchy and I were weighing up the total that they could be targeting. Roland Jones in, bowls, and that comes back and almost cuts Sangakkara in two, but you couldn't quite say it because it came back from so far outside of the off stump, but in the end he was left playing down the wrong line to it, really. 20 for 1.
Now, Kevin Hand, the best pound-for-pound bowler I've seen in the domestic game for the last, well, what is it, 6-7 years now? Is this man here.
At least 6-7 years. I mean,
he's got the best strike rate in the country, hasn't he? I mean, he
took his first 100 first-class wickets at 20, and if 97 of those weren't championship wickets, he has been a tremendous performer. He's in, bowls, and forward goes Sangakkara, pushing back to mid-off, and there's no, and the suspicion of some being he might just not be quick enough for the test side, but we won't know until they put him in there. He's an 85 mile an hour man rather than a 90 mile an hour man.
Absolutely. I mean, you look at other players. Look at James Curley for him. I mean, he was never 90 mph, was he? Short little chap, and he got good few wickets for England when he came into the side. He just feel. I mean, he was in a Lord's Test squad last year from memory.
He was, yes. Ball got the nod.
Yeah.
I do think at Lord's, I do wonder whether they should have thrown that one to Roland Jones that game. Here's a bouncer, Sangakkara ducks underneath it. The thing about Roland Jones, you say about the last 6 years, really it's been from the word go with Roland Jones, but he had 2 years where it was 3 years really, he had 2 years held up by injury, and the third year, the comeback year from the injuries, just wasn't of the same tempo as everything that had come before it, because from the word go he was away. I mean, there was the 5 against Surrey. Do you remember when he blitzed Surrey one day?
2-day game.
Mark Ramprakash, I remember him taking out Ramps' middle stump.
I remember
in that game
dealing with Dave Townsend throughout that 2 days.
Dealing with Dave Townsend at any time is great, to be fair. Roland Jones, he's in, bowls, and this is pushed away 2 points by Sangakkara. Is he off the mark? No, he's not. Scrambling stop by Compton at point, backed up by Gubbins at cover, and that's the end of the 7th over. 20 for 1. Sangakkara yet to get off the mark. Borthwick will have strike on 10, but yes, that first 100 came at 20, and as I say, I reckon about 97 of those were championship wickets. Then he had, and at that point he was very, very close to a test call-up, and while still being a relative unknown, whereas now everybody knows he's close to a test call-up, but then he certainly was. Then he had 2 or 3 years held up by, there was an impingement in the shoulder, a hip injury, and then there was the third year, the comeback, which he didn't have that same rhythm and groove. But after that, he's gone straight back into it, and he is really a fierce customer to face. Here's Helm, bowls just full of length to Borthwick, who tentatively drives down to mid-on. He was looking for a straighter drive than that. Watchfully played in the end.
Well, you just feel, I mean, often, certainly, if you look at the First Division, if you score runs in the First Division, your time will come, as we've seen in recent years. Take Jennings, for example. He didn't tour immediately, but he went on, finally joined up the England tour and got an opportunity to bat. I think that Roland Jones deserves the same opportunity.
Helm, bowls just full of length, comes back into Borthwick. That one, he's playing defensively to point a dot ball.
I mean, express pace, people bang on about it. I guess what's unlucky for Roland Jones is what would set off his career nicely is a nice, cheeky 3-test series against Sri Lanka in mid-April.
Yes,
up at the Riverside. That's what you know.
Yeah, I mean, the things that Roland Jones, what he has going for him is he hits the bat very hard. Even though he's not a 90 mile an hour man, he hits the bat hard. Helm bowls short. This is picked up deep backward, square legs coming around, but it's cleared him. It is that short boundary we're talking about. 55 yards, and 6 it is for Borthwick. He moves to 16, 26 for 1, and that's just the danger, because both of these are back of the length bowlers, Helm and Roland Jones, and with that short boundary and the left-handed Borthwick on strike, Helm just has to be careful not to drop too short and allow the pickup, which is what that was. For a moment, again, it was only a 55-yard boundary, so for a moment square leg was interested, and it landed in the second row of seats with the advertised board right behind him.
Just had enough on it.
Here's Helm's response. He bowls just fuller of a length on this occasion, and a leg by is taken as the ball dies in front of the point fielder Compton. They're through happily. Borthwick remains on 16. Sangakkara onto strike, 27 for 1. I'm just trying to work out if Sangakkara's faced Helm yet. I don't think he has. But yes, he does hit the bat very, very hard, Roland Jones, and he hits the batsmen that face him tell me always a couple of inches higher than they expect, even though they play him off the back foot. They talk to batsmen who face 90 mile an hour, man. They say if they're gun barrel straight, they're not particularly worried about them. It's Helm bowls, and this is driven through the covers by Sangakkara to get off the mark. Not quite timed, and again, it has been slower, that larger boundary to our left. It is a lush green today, so it's just 2, but Sangakkara off the mark, and Surrey are 29 for 1. Whereas Roland Jones at 85 miles an hour and seaming it about is more difficult to face than a guy who's 90 miles an hour and gun barrel straight. So I think until he gets that test call up, then it's going to be very difficult to say, is he quick enough for England, which is the question that keeps getting thrown at him. But I think the fact of the matter is he's got to get a go at some point.
Yeah.
Helm is in, bowls, and forward goes Sangakkara, pushing to mid-on. There is no run. And the other thing is as well, he plays so much of his cricket at Lords, which has been notoriously flat for some time now. They had a lively one for the Essex game a couple of weeks ago, which is why they were so disappointed not to get over the line in that and pick up the first win of the year. But Stephen Finn said it was the liveliest Lord track they'd seen in a while compared to the placid ones that they'd seen recently, which are his words. 29 for 1 here. That was the end of the 8th over.
Did they have any inclination they were going to be served up something a bit more juicy?
Yes, they did, because there was for years Middlesex have asked for more grass to be left on the track at Lords, and it never generally happens. Well, of course, with these toss regulations now, so Essex were able to turn up and say, well, actually, you have a bat, we'll bowl. Middlesex turned up in the morning, though, actually a huge amount of grass was left on. They couldn't believe it, but then overhead it was leaden sky. As here's Roland Jones from the Vauxhall end. He bowls. This is run away down towards third man for a single by Borthwick. He moves to 17, 30 for 1 in the 9th now. Sorry. So with leaden skies and this unbelievable layer of grass, they actually had to then turn around and say, actually, could we have a little bit less grass on? Years of asking for it. So Middlesex went on and racked up, I think, 507 for 7 then, on what still was something of a certainly a green top for Lords. And leaden skies. So, and that again, Stephen Finn says was the liveliest track they've seen at Lords in a long time. So that's what Roland Jones has been up against in taking these wickets as well. So that has to be factored in. He's in now and he bowls to Sangakkara, who gets an inside edge, rolls off the pad, but into the offside, unlike onto the stumps as it did for poor Stoneman, who went for 10.
Well, the other thing is his one-day record is pretty decent as well.
It's got better and better.
And I mean, how is he? 28 now?
He is.
Yeah. So he's into his prime. Glenn McGrath always says that's when your bones stop growing by about the time you're 28, and that's when you're really hitting your strap. So he's into the absolute cream of his career. Well, the
thing for Stephen Finn as well, coming into his prime now, Finn, isn't he? Roland Jones actually turned 29 in January. Apologies. He's in. Bowls short, and this ball is hooked away down to long leg for a single by Sangakkara. Moves to 3, 31 for 1 here on 5 Live Sports Extra and BBC Radio London. Yes, he's 29, Roland Jones, so very much in his prime. But he's always, for Roland Jones, all right, in the early years, of course, younger bowlers are going to spray it a little bit more, but he's always felt as though this is the bowler we've always seen for Roland Jones. Yeah. I think he's, in those early years, it was just cutting out the 4 balls, as it always is for young, quick bowlers. But nowadays, I just think really he bowls at test length, and that's the other key that I think people need to think about as he's in now. Bowls, that doesn't feel as though it got up a great deal to Borthwick, who pushes back down the track. And there is no run, because of course I talk about him playing on flat ones at Lords, but equally the bane for the likes of Stephen Finn and Roland Jones when going around the country in April is you're bowling a test length on green tops. You're not actually getting that much reward because you're going past the edge regularly on the back foot, whereas the guys who are putting it up there on a fuller length are getting more reward, and that's what this toss ruling that was brought in the last couple of years was trying to even out.
See Darren Stevens for details.
Yeah,
just wobbling it about.
Neil Dexter at Middlesex as well. Yeah. Who's now moved on, former captain of Middlesex. Here's Roland Jones. He bowls slightly fuller length, but again you can see there Borthwick, it was a slightly fuller length, but they still don't want to go forward to Roland Jones, do they? Generally they'll play him off the back foot. He's actually a year older than Stephen Finn, Roland Jones. It's amazing to believe, isn't it? Because Finn's been around forever. He broke through
2005
16
debut.
Yeah, 16-year-old he broke through. I commentated on Stephen Finn's debut.
Did you?
Yeah. It's gonna,
in his GCSE.
I'm really going to feel old when Stephen Finn retires, which is a long way off yet, thankfully. But having commentated on his debut, yes. But to think he's a year older than Roland Jones, a year younger, than Roland Jones, who is past the umpire now. He bowls and length delivery, forward defence from Borthwick again, back up the track. But both in their prime, and Finn missed out on the Ireland team today, didn't he? Or the England team to play Ireland.
Struggled to get back in that side for
Roland Jones.
well.
Roland Jones, a late bloomer as well, we should say. You know, he wasn't making his debut at 16. In fact, he was Surrey seconds, wasn't he? I think at the start of the season when he was on trial, Surrey seconds. When Chris Adams tells a fantastic story, which he told on air, I should add, before I repeat it, because he did tell this story on air when he was summarising for BBC Sussex. Roland Jones was playing at Sunbury. Was really pulling up trees and played the trial match for, I say it was Surrey seconds, it was a trial match for Surrey seconds as Helmsley and bowls, and this is full, driven down the ground. It's a lovely on drive by Sangakkara. His first boundary moves him to 7, 35 for 1 as we begin the 10th over, the final of Power Play 1. Yes, he sent, and he wouldn't name who it was. He said he sent a member of his coaching staff. I'm looking to Church because he'll know instantly probably who it was. A member of his coaching staff to have a look at Roland Jones and scout him. The report came back, don't bother, he'll never make it. Instead, Middlesex, and the rest is history.
Wow.
Adams told us that story down at Hove a couple of years ago. It was an interesting one. Here's Helm bowls, and this is lifted over mid-on for 4 more. Lovely shot by Sangakkara. The glorious on drive that he just played, well, that was an effortless lift of the youngster over the infields for 4 more. He moves to 11, 43 for 1.
Nice looking shot again, wasn't it, from Sangakkara through the V, taking out the fielders on that occasion by going up and over.
Still 1 slip in place. Helm bowls. Oh, it's a lovely delivery just outside of the off stump, comes back in, but all the expertise of Sangakkara, knowing he didn't have to play that at all, based on the length mainly, and lifts the bat high up in the air, but a lovely bit of shape on that.
It's a big wicket, isn't he? You would say Sangakkara.
They dropped long off back for that delivery. They've brought him back up now inside the circle. Third man, either that or let's have a look, is it James Fuller at mid-off? Either that or he'd just gone for a wander, but he certainly walked back in from a long off position now. Square leg and third man, the 2 back for this delivery. As forward goes Sangakkara, driving in between points and cover, just opening the face on that one to just full of a length delivery, and they will pick up 3 to the large expanse of the boundary. Nearly a collision as Borthwick charges back for the third, knowing he was going to the danger and maybe had eyes on the fielder. Almost collided with Sangakkara and then had to go charging down the middle of the track to avoid Sri Lankan. And Sangakkara moves to 14, is that right? And 42 for 1. So a very similar position to that which Middlesex were. Middlesex were 41 for 1 at the fall of the first wicket, which came in the 9th over. We're in the 10th here on 5 Live Sports Extra and BBC Radio London at the chase. Helm to Borthwick. That just had a little bit of extra bounce. He was trying to work it into the onside, but bounced up towards the hip of Borthwick. Good experience this for Helm, bowling to Sangakkara. So much talked about of him. His first 2 championship games came a year apart. The first was against Yorkshire at Scarborough. What a place to throw you into your debut. And at that point we thought, well, they must really think something of him. That's going back 4 years or so now. Then he had to wait a year for the next one. And again, it came against Yorkshire at Lord's. Stevie Eskenazi had a similar experience as well, not chosen in the side today. Forward goes Borthwick, pushing into the offside. That is the end of the 10th over. It's the end of me as well here on 5 Live Sports Extra and BBC Radio London. Surrey set for 244 to win. Are 42 for 1. Sangakkara has 14. Borthwick has 17. And after a few words from Johnny Barron, it will be Mark Church.
Well, we have a lovely scene here at the Keir Oval in South London. A blustery wind that goes from left to right across the ground as we look out from the commentary box up here at the Vauxhall end. And I think we have a change of bowling into the piece. And I think it's James Fuller coming into proceedings from the Vauxhall end as we welcome back Mark Church. And it's still fascinating points.
Brilliant game of cricket this. Sangakkara has just played an on drive that, well, I often say this about Sangakkara, but that's worth the price of the ticket alone, that on drive from Kumar Sangakkara. I've just tweeted that if it's free this evening, I wouldn't mind taking that on drive for a little stroll along the Thames. Just a romantic stroll along the Thames. Also, the battle between Helm, Roland Jones and Borthwick's been fascinating. Yep. And Helm, he has got a fair bit about him, this lad, hasn't he?
He's a talent. James Fuller now from the Vauxhall end, right arm over. He's into Kumar Sangakkara. He's in. It's full of length, and Sangakkara drives nicely down the ground. A nice bit of fielding, actually, by mid-off in the end. They get through for a single. It's Toby Rowland-Jones for the fielding. And the score goes up to 43 for 1.
Yeah, it's almost identical to the Middlesex innings. After that 9 overs, Middlesex for 41 for 1. So 10 overs, 43 for 1.
It's going to be tight, this, isn't it? We just absolutely, this is going to go down to
unless
the wire.
one batsman bats completely out of their skin, it's going to be a very tight affair, you would have thought.
Here is James Fuller to the left-handed Borthwick, who covers up off the back foot and pushes back to the bowler, and there's no run.
Saying that, though, the only thing that we haven't had in the 2 games that have been on this pitch this week is one big partnership. We haven't had that across the entirety of, well, what have we had now? Surrey had 49 overs, Essex basically had their 50. So we're talking nearly 150 overs of cricket, 160 now. We haven't had one big partnership.
Here is Fuller again. He's in to Borthwick, who pulls him nicely behind square on the leg side, and they get through for a single. Fielding done just in front of the Mickey Stewart Members Pavilion. Score goes up to 44 for 1.
Of course, now they can get 4 out if they want to, because we're in the second power play. The other thing is that shot for 6 off Helm from Borthwick was an extraordinary shot, because it wasn't that short, and he just helped it on its way, and it soared into that short leg side boundary, I know, but it still took a bit of batting to pick it up and pull it away for 6.
Yes, it was a lovely shot indeed. Here is Fuller to Sangakkara, who works him off the front foot just behind square on the leg side, and they go through for a single. Fielding done out there by Tom Helm.
It can't be easy actually for the bowlers now with this breeze either. It's a pretty strong breeze, and so for Fuller it's blowing straight into his left hand side, coming left to right across the ground, and we can see on the flags on top of the pavilion that is a very strong breeze now.
Fuller again. He's in, and Borthwick a swivel pull down to fine leg, and they get through for a single, nothing more. Score goes up to 46 for 1.
Just elsewhere in the Royal London One Day Cup, Leicestershire 211. The target then for Durham is 212. They're going nicely, 83 for 1. Glamorgan in a spot of bother already. Somerset 338 for 3. They're in terrific form.
That is
in the 50 over comp. And Glamorgan a 40 for 3.
Oh dear.
Already in trouble, and Ingram's already gone.
Here is Fuller. Right on over, is in, short, and it's punched off the back foot quite nicely by Kumar Sangakkara, and it's a good bit of work actually by backward point, but a misfield does mean they get through for the single. The score goes up to 47 for 1.
Kent 331 for 7, Sussex 62 without loss in the 11th. Lancashire 324 for 8, Northamptonshire 76 for 1 after 10. Nottinghamshire 303 for 6. Warwickshire good start 71 without loss in reply. And the other route of the Billy variety today, 107 not out for Notts. So there we go. That's good news.
Having quite a season, isn't he?
Yep.
Young route.
And Worcestershire 342 and Yorkshire 82 for 1 on the chase in the 12th over.
Here is Tom Helm. Tall man into Sangakkara, who drives inside edge onto pad, just rolls out on the offside, and there's no run.
It's a nice afternoon now.
It's lovely. Got the rather bizarre situation of the best conditions of the match, arguably the week, and the floodlights are on.
Yes.
Which is always fascinating.
Well, they'll
to see.
stay on the whole time now, seeing that they've come on.
Yeah. Crowd is building up, Churchy, isn't
it? It is, yes. Well, I think it's Friday.
Yes.
Some have tumbled in a bit early, left the desk. Very important business meeting.
Undermanned. Here is Helm again. It's worked just on the onside by Sangakkara, and there's no run. Just off the back foot.
It's that sort of time, isn't it, on a Friday? Did I not tell you I had a meeting? It's just on the way home.
Yeah.
Excellent.
Yeah, 1 o'clock.
Yes,
South
London.
Yes. 1 o'clock in South London.
Got to leave early because of the traffic. Yeah, get yourselves in here. Get a good 3-4 hours in your belt. Sangakkara's batting against a very, very good Middlesex bowling attack. We're seeing one of the best young bowlers in the country in Tom Helm bowling at the moment.
Yeah.
This is great stuff.
It is indeed. Helm from the pavilion end. A couple of dot balls back to back. He's into Sangakkara, who pushes him off the back foot back to the bowler, and there's no run. Yes, I guess if you have arranged it, if you're dialing into a conference call, just a question when you hear of finding a bit of quiet, isn't it?
Yes, that's the major issue.
Been a few people who've tried that.
There's a number of meetings taking place of the business variety here at the ground, and if I crane out and look to my right, most of the delegates seem to be sat outside watching the cricket. So yes.
Here is Helm again, and Sangakkara drives beautifully up to wide mid-off. Fuller does the fielding, and they get through for a single. The score goes up to 48 for 1.
They're playing this very sensibly at the moment, Sangakkara and Borthwick. What will be very interesting is when Ollie Rayner comes into the attack.
Fond memory.
He has fantastic record here as well. That's the thing, Ollie Rayner. He stood in there at first slip. I don't know whether you do look at one bowler, not that Rainey you target, but I'm just trying to knock a bit of stuffing out of this perhaps.
And Helm just down the leg side on that occasion. I think it was a leg by. They get through for a single. Just looking at the umpire, it is a leg by. Score goes up to 49 for 1.
We've been lucky in the Royal London One Day Cup so far this season here on BBC Radio 5 Live Sports Extra that we've had some great games. And I think this could be another one.
Yeah, it's going to go deep.
Although I'll go back to what I said, over the 161 overs of cricket we've had on this pitch this week, we haven't had one big partnership.
Sangakkara back on strike. Here is Helm from the pavilion end. He's in to Sangakkara. He punches off the back foot to extra cover. And there is no run into the over. 49 for 1, and we've got 12 bowled thus far.
Yeah, and there's a good crowd in now. They're spread out, and we are using the entire ground. So the crowd are wherever they want to go. We're using the entire outfield, apart from the rope away to our left. So if it's the bowler coming in from this Vauxhall end for the left-hander, it's the mid-wicket boundary row in front of the Peter May stand, probably 30 yards in. It's still a big old carry there. That's the side to defend if you're the bowling side. The Fuller will be thinking that himself with Borthwick, the left-hander, on strike. Rayner is getting warmed up. So we are using the whole expanse.
Well, the only person to find that boundary over there on the full is Jay Dernbach this week.
Yes.
Churchy, a massive 6 he hit on Monday in that breezy cameo of 10.
Yes, well, he's out with a slight back complaint. You wonder if he did it, lumping that 6.
Well,
I don't know.
Massive miss as far as Surrey are concerned. They did pretty well without him though, to restrict Middlesex to 2, 4, 3 for 9. Here is James Fuller, and is into Scott Borthwick, who tucks him neatly in front of square on the leg side. Might be a chance of 2 here. They do get back for 2. Got to get his skates on. Good bit of fielding, but a decent bit of running as well. Sangakkara coming back to the danger end. It's Higgins with the fielding out there on the mid-wicket boundary, and 50 up, 51 for 1.
Yeah, good bit of batting that. Got it in front of square to the left of Voges, did Borthwick, but swung Higgins round from deep backward square. So it was always 2.
Yeah.
Always 2.
James Fuller again is in to Borthwick, who pulls through on the onside, and again Higgins does the fielding, about 20 yards in at square leg. And there is 1 run. Score goes up to 52 for 1.
That's 3 off this over, off the first 2 balls.
Absolutely. That's all they need to do, really, isn't it? That's the thing.
At the moment it is.
Actually, where the trouble has occurred all the way through this game, and on Monday, is when people are trying to push the envelope a little bit further than maybe conditions and circumstances allow.
Fuller
is in again to Sangakkara, who pulls again out to Higgins on the deep square boundary at square leg, and they get through for a single, and it is 53 for 1.
I'm doing your words for you.
Yes, thank you very much, Churchy.
But again, I think Fuller's quite happy with that. Bang
You've
it in.
written my scripts before.
Yeah, absolutely. Just bang it in, single.
Yeah.
Nice shot from Sangakkara, but it's such a big boundary out there. To our left, off towards the Peter May stand and the gasometer, because we're at the Vauxhall end. If you can imagine the ground. And that's a massive carry out there to the left.
Here is Fuller to Borthwick, who clips backward of square on the leg side. And again, good bit of batting. Another single up to the total. 54 for 1, the score. And they've got runs off every single delivery thus far this over.
Well, we were saying with that Middlesex innings as well, it's Simpson's very good knock. But it was almost like he was sort of reading a map of guiding himself through his innings and where was he going to go for the big shot? What was the shortest boundary? What were his angles that he could work with?
Here is Fuller again from the Vauxhall end, who's in to Sangakkara, who drives beautifully in the cover vicinity. The trademark shot from the elegant Sri Lankan. He gets another 4. He goes up to 23 not out. The score up to 58 for 1. It's been a very good over from Surrey thus far.
Yeah, long half volley, still a long half volley. Put away beautifully by Sangakkara.
Doesn't miss them.
I had an afternoon with the feet up yesterday, which was rather nice. Put the old telly on, and there was Mr. Sangakkara chatting away back to India. And he said, someone said to him, would you still fancy playing in the IPL? And he said, look, I'm loving my time at Surrey and I enjoy playing for Surrey.
Final ball of the over. Fuller into Sangakkara again, who just squeezes one out backward to square on the leg side. Thinking about 2. Would be rather ambitious, you feel. And end of the over, they get a single. It is 59 for 1.
Yeah, I'm loving my time at Surrey. You know, even if I went to the IPL now, I don't think I'd score any runs. Yeah, all right, Kumar, calm down. Who are you kidding?
Still a talent. Still a talent.
Wow. Look, you're lucky enough. We are lucky enough in this job, across the season, whatever county you support, whatever game you go to, you get the world-class players. It's happening now, everybody. You get 3 years' time, it's happening now. And you get to watch these blokes bat. And the lovely thing with people like Sangakkara as well is I think he's on a diet of white ball cricket over the winter. I think he absolutely relishes coming back and playing in the Championship against a red ball where he's got a bit longer to bat and he has to build an innings. And I think you get to see the best of it. And then, I was having a chat with my old man yesterday about sort of those 80s periods where, you know, you used to get the best players in the world and you get them for the whole season.
And you get 2 of them.
And it was just unbelievable stuff. It really was.
They'll all be there.
But there's still, you know, it still happens now. It's still happening now in the County Championship. Still some of the best players in the world are applying their trade head to head. It's fantastic stuff. This will be interesting. Ollie Rayner into the attack now.
Well, indeed. Sangakkara not out on 24, Borthwick on 23. Sangakkara the man on strike, so having a peruse the field. And in comes Ollie Rayner, pulling right arm round the wicket and just pushed back neatly by Sangakkara to the bowler, and there's no run. The men out, long on, long off, deep square on the off side. Deep square on the leg side as well. Sangakkara just pushes back to the bowler, and there is no run.
It's going to be interesting how Sangakkara plays Ollie Rayner.
Here is Rayner now. Flighted nicely, and Sangakkara just works it off the front foot, just backward square by opening the face, and they get through for a single. As Gully does the fielding. The score goes up to 60 for 1.
I was saying earlier, wasn't I? It was a few years ago now that Surrey prepared a turning pitch, trying to stay up. And Rayner turned up and took 16 wickets in the match. But Hashim Amla in the second innings played him like he was a quick bowler. Yeah. He was almost hooking balls off his nose because Rayner would hit a leg, then bang, it would go straight up and turn.
Pretty good figures, those. Rayner into Borthwick, full of length. Borthwick just pushes back out on the offside, and there's no run.
And Rayner's first 3 balls, he's given this air. He's just giving it a bit of air. He's just tossing it up. He's a tall man anyway. He's just giving it a bit of air, a bit of loop to these 2 left-handers.
Here is Rayner to Borthwick. Big shout for LBW. Nothing doing. Going down on the angle, I think we can safely say, as the ball ricochets away on the offside. And no run.
He's going round the wicket.
He's got a lot to do from there.
Well, he's coming round the wicket to the left-hander. So his stop ball will be turning away from from Borthwick. So he's trying to run that into the leg side.
Here is Rayner. Slog sweep nicely by Borthwick as the ball disappears away towards our right-hand side into the OCS stand along the floor. The score goes up to 68-1 at the end of the over.
It's a really good bit of batting because he's got a man behind square on the leg side at 45. He's got his fine leg on the edge of the circle and he's got a deep mid-wicket. So he thinks he's got that area covered. He's coming round the wicket. He's taking that ball away from Borthwick, but Borthwick has got that front foot down the pitch straight away and just swept and fully in control of it. But the key thing is he's split the two men on the edge of the circle. And mid-wicket's never getting round to that. Now if he pulls his mid-wicket squarer, that deep mid-wicket square, he can then just jump onto the back foot and bunt it into the leg side and take a single. So it's a good bit of batting that from Borthwick. 14 gone, 64-1 then here on BBC Radio 5 Live Sports Extra and BBC Radio London. Surrey on the chase of 244 in the Royal London One Day Cup.
Yeah, set up very nicely here. Like as we lie, Middlesex probably like another wicket around now, to say the very least. Sangakkara or Borthwick wouldn't go amiss from their perspective. James Fuller now operating round the wicket to Sangakkara, who's not out on 25. Covering, men out square on either side and behind square. Here is Fuller into Sangakkara, short, and Sangakkara just chops it really down to third man for a single. Score goes up to 65-1.
Yeah, so I think Fuller there wasn't going to give Sangakkara anything in his half. Sangakkara's half, I mean, after being driven off that last ball of the last over through extra cover for four, so banged it in. And the key thing there was he didn't really give Sangakkara any width either. Good little here we go. So little partnership beginning to develop between these two. Came together with the score of 18, but we haven't seen one big partnership in the two games here this week.
There is Fuller again to Scott Borthwick, short again, and Borthwick spaced that paddle pull nicely down towards the Mickey Stewart Members Pavilion. Nice bit of fielding down there by Tom Helm, and the score goes on to 66-1.
Good number in the pavilion today.
Yeah.
Top, middle and bottom tier.
It's a great crowd.
Well, it is now, and as I say, I think a few people have done the old conference school. 1 o'clock.
We can dial in from here if you can find.
You can dial in, I think. Yes, you can dial in. Oh, hang on. Hang on. Now, I do a rotor.
Fuller is in. Short again to Sangakkara. Not sure about this line of attack from James Fuller. Again, it's swung round a fine leg. Another single. 67-1.
Just in case the head man is listening, because we're on BBC Radio 5 Live. I've come in this morning early, haven't I?
Yeah.
And I've done a rotor.
You have.
Right? And it's a perfectly good rotor.
Been meddled with.
It's being meddled with now. There are symbols on here that I don't understand.
James Fuller again. Right arm round from this Vauxhall end. Is in. Scott Borthwick. He drives nicely, but a nice bit of fielding actually by extra cover. Who's that end there? Is that Rayner?
Yep.
Yeah, Ollie Rayner.
Long arms of Rayner.
One of those where it actually looks a bit better than it possibly is, isn't it? It's a nice height, nice comfortable height. You have to do the work.
It's interesting this, because Fuller's a real quick bowler, isn't he?
Nice.
Hits the pitch hard. But he knows coming round the wicket, he has got some protection with the length of that leg side boundary road.
Fuller again, short again. It's worked nicely by Borthwick. They have a think about two, but no chance. Helm does the fielding, and they get through for a single. Score goes up to 68-1.
If you're Fuller and you're seeing when you come round the wicket there to Borthwick, he's jumping across his stumps and helping you down to fine leg, you must be tempted to bowl the slower ball, because if he goes through that too early, it's going to be leading edge up in the air towards the covers. To Sangakkara, well,
can hit you anywhere. Here is Fuller to said Sangakkara, who plays it. Short length ball, just pushes back on the onside, and there is no run. The end of the over and the end of my stint, it is 68-1.
Well done, Johnny Barron. So Johnny Barron's off. I'm just waiting to see who's got. Well, hang on. Look, you change the rotor, and then he's not even in the room. This is impossible, children. Daniel Norcross is joining, but not for long, I don't think. Are you, Norcross?
Blame me. Yes. I'll cover for this one. Oh,
Yeah, here he is. This is absolutely seamless here on BBC Radio 5 Live Sports Extra and BBC Radio London.
Latte or cappuccino? Latte.
Yes.
Right, in that case, I'll op it. We're basically swapping.
Yes, I've noticed.
Because I've got,
You've got a note,
I've
have
got
you?
a long one. I've got a long one at 4:30.
Have you really? Excellent. 68 for 1. Off you go then. And it'll be Kevin Hand with his frothy coffee as Rayner from the pavilion then comes round the wicket to Borthwick, who's sweeping again. It hits the front pad, it rolls away into the leg side. They'll take the leg by. One more to the total. 69 for 1. Borthwick 29, Sangakkara comes back onto strike on 27. Welcome back, Kevin Hand.
That was almost Dave Townsend-esque from Norcross. He came on to tell you that he's not coming on.
Yes, I know. Well, yes. It's all got very confusing. Rayner. On his off breaks to Sangakkara, it's down the leg side. Simpson whips off the bails. Wide will be the signal here. And that'll be one more to the total. 70 for 1. So I was just saying, over the last 4 days, so partnership begins to develop. This is the dangerous time now. Rayner's in to Sangakkara. Gives this lots of air, and Sangakkara's forward, pushing into the offside. Rolls to Compton, who does the fielding away to his right in there at extra cover. We've seen Borthwick play one lovely sweep shot to Rayner. Now, Franklin comes across to have a word with Rayner. Short leg side boundary, but he's taking the ball away from Sangakkara from round the wicket. Sangakkara will just nudge it into a gap. Nicely played. Out towards that sweeper on the cover boundary rope. You'd settle for that if you're Rayner, and you'd settle for that if you're Sangakkara. Sangakkara 28. Surrey 71 for 1, 244 is their target. Mark Stoneman the man to go. Bowled by Toby Rowland Jones for 10. Two left-handers out there in the middle. Borthwick is nudging this one into the leg side. Now he wants to, he'll only get the single. And the change in the field there was they took the man who was on the edge of the circle at square leg, and as we talked about previous Rayner over, they stuck him out onto the boundary. So that gives Borthwick that opportunity just to knock the ball into the leg side and pick up one. Rayner's in once more, and Sangakkara is very well played by Sangakkara. It's a nice piece of bowling by Rayner. He's given that a lot of air, and Sangakkara's just waited for it and then just nudged it into the offside for a single. Sangakkara on to 29, 73 for 1 now. Surrey in the 16th over. Nice hubbub around the ground now. Rayner's in to Borthwick, sweeps again. Great batting, because he's stuck his man out at deep backward square. He's got two men on that leg side boundary rope now, and the man at short fine leg, and he's managed to sweep it behind square and take out the two men on the leg side boundary rope. So that's really good batting from Borthwick. He's on to 34. Sangakkara has 29 and 77 for 1. Sorry.
You mentioned that hubbub. This is a really good crowd, isn't it? Friday at the Oval. I know it's the derby in the capital, so that's always going to attract attention, especially the first of the season, a one-day game. There's no reverse fixture in this competition, but it's only a couple of weeks wait until Surrey are at Lords in the Championship. But yeah, as you look around the ground, it is a really good, healthy number in today, I think, for the Royal London One Day Cup. And the competition, well, a format, I guess, in the last 10 years in particular, I think, that's really had a constant eye put on it, hasn't it? And even more so it will over the next 3 years or so now, with the new T20 coming in as well.
Fuller from the Vauxhall End round the wicket to Sangakkara. Wide's the signal. They've gone up for the shout for caught behind as Sangakkara looked to pull it down to fine leg. I think they were trying to kid the umpire as much as anything, but he wasn't going to be kidded. If you're going to kid anybody, probably Gunnar Gould's not the man to go for, because he's seen it all before and got the t-shirt. It's just having a word with James Franklin is Ian Gould. They may have heard something, but it never looked glovey or batty. And 78 for 1. Again though, Fuller here to Sangakkara. He knows he's got protection on that leg side, and if Sangakkara is going to cook aerially, he's got to get all of it. He's perfectly capable of doing that, of course. Fuller's in, and Sangakkara just gets up on his toes, nudges leg side, takes a single out there towards deep backward square. 79 for 1. Sangakkara moves on to 30.
So a couple of balls into the 17th over. Middlesex at the end of the 16th over was 69 for 2. So they'd lost Milan and Compton at this stage. And just to look at the Duckworth-Lewis which obviously will change with the fall of a wicket, but at the moment Surrey are well ahead of it. What we can read into all of that is Middlesex need wickets to win the game. We were talking really at the start of this innings about how Surrey go about it, winning the game, how Surrey go about the chase. For Middlesex, defending 243, realistically they're going to have to near enough bowl Surrey out, i.e. have lots of wickets at some stage, which at this point almost comes to collapse territory. So they're going to need something pretty good. And one of the men I think that you'd really look to, Ollie Rayner, to have a good 10 overs in the middle of this innings here.
Well, dear listener, I apologise, but I'm boring myself. The one thing that we haven't had is a proper partnership yet. In the entire 2 games, as Borthwick will push this one down to backward point and take a single. And by a proper partnership, I mean something up around 150. 79 for 180 for one with that single. Borthwick on to 35.
Well, Middlesex's innings 243, yet it had 2 guys who got reasonable 50s, but it was fits and starts, the partnerships for Middlesex. And as you say, this is the danger time for Surrey because of the last 3 innings here. You haven't seen a sizable partnership now wins the game for Surrey, doesn't it?
Fuller round the wicket, Sangakkara nudges this one down towards fine leg. On the angle again, Fuller just coming round the wicket. In a way, this sounds a strange thing to say. In a way, that feels like a dot ball, doesn't it? Because it's round the wicket, he's got all that leg side to work with. So actually, it's not a bad result, really, that. Just nudge it down for a single. It's sort of going to the plan, isn't it? The one time he went outside the off stump full to Sangakkara, he got driven through the covers for 4. Borthwick, 35 not out, 81 for 1. Fuller is in. Here's another short one. This is pulled by Borthwick down towards fine leg. He'll pick up another single as the throw comes in. 1 more to the total. 1 more to Borthwick as a pigeon flies past the commentary box window.
Talks about Roland Jones the other evening picking up 4 for 10 off his 7 overs in that to start that Hampshire innings. He's picked up 1 for 14 off 5. I wonder how tempted they were to go through with a few more from Roland Jones here. Helm bowled 6 overs, so he bowled them over more in the spell than Roland Jones, yet went for 28, 4.67 off his 6. I wonder how tempted they were to keep Roland Jones on.
Fuller's in. That's well bowled. Short ball, and in behind it goes Sangakkara, pushes this one out towards extra cover, and there's no. Yeah, because Helm, that one shot went for 6, didn't it? That shot from Borthwick off Helm.
Yeah, and then Sangakkara put it for 2 4s. Yeah, the on drive and going over the top.
I suppose if you're James Franklin, you're thinking this could go deep, this game.
Yeah.
So you're keeping some overs up your sleeve. But if this partnership continued for another 10 overs,
yep,
you've got to go back to one of those two to try and knock the partnership
quickly
over.
Yeah.
Fuller is in. Oh, well bowled. Got that one on a lovely length and line to Sangakkara, who sort of walked into the defensive shot, and that's gone past his outside edge. Well bowled, James Fuller. End of the over. 82 for 1 then, Surrey. Sangakkara 31, Borthwick 36. 17 overs have gone. Kevin Hand, 33 remain.
James Fuller is express pace, and the danger for that though is, as I've said, that sometimes he can stray a little. I like him around the wicket there to Sangakkara, just trying to tuck that offside up a little bit more. He's got to be very, very disciplined to Sangakkara, otherwise that ball's going to come sweetly onto the bat, isn't it? So this is a really crucial time for Middlesex. They've only got the 1 spinner in Rayner as well. There are spin options in Darvin Milan and Adam Voges, but the other name is Ryan Higgins, who's tight, got great control, but and he's got good variation with that control as well, but doesn't get a lot of movement nor a lot of pace. So he too, he's almost having to play a spinner role potentially for Middlesex, and I wonder how quickly they go to him to see if that buys a wicket.
82 for 1. It's Ollie Rayner to start the 18th over, and this is just turned by Borthwick down the ground for a single. Ollie Rayner's giving this air, so that's nicely tucked away by Borthwick for a single. I should know this. Does James Franklin ever turn his arm over in one-day cricket? You see, he'd be an option on this with his experience. Rayner. Around the wicket he comes to Sangakkara. That's nicely bowled. Nicely played by Sangakkara. Again, Rayner giving that lots of air, and Sangakkara just pops it into the offside. They take their single. I think against Rayner here, Borthwick and Sangakkara will be happy to just tick off 4 singles and over and just keep that scoreboard moving round as much as anything without trying to do anything too spectacular. Rayner is in, and this will just be worked out towards mid-wicket by Borthwick. They'll stroll another single, so 3 balls, 3 singles. Borthwick moves on to 38.85 for 1.
It's a good question, the Franklin one, though, because when he arrived at Middlesex, this is his 3rd season now. The first year he played almost exclusively as a batsman, but he had surgery on his back that winter, which really freed something up for him, and he now bowls with a great deal more freedom.
Forward comes Sangakkara. That was nicely bowled by Rayner, and it was off an outside edge, the defensive shot. It squirted down towards backward point. They'll scramble a single. That'll be 1 more to the total, with Voges coming round to do the fielding. 4 balls, 4 singles, 86 for 1. Borthwick back onto strike on 38.
I think he was almost limited to 3 absolute maximum 4 overs in a spell in that first year.
Rayner is in, quicker, forward goes Borthwick, pushes this one back up the pitch, and there's no run.
And even at the start of last summer, I think when he was coming back from that back surgery, I think then they did manage his workload until they felt, yep, everything's good.
Rayner bounces in once more, and Borthwick will just defend this. So Surrey have taken 4 off that over without taking a risk. They'll be happy with that. End of the over, 18 gone. Surrey 86 for 1 here on BBC Radio 5 Live Sports Extra. Sangakkara 33, Borthwick has 38.
And I like that you've picked up on Rayner's flights here, because one of the interesting things about Ollie Rayner at 6'5" as an off spinner is that balance between flight and bowling it into the pitch. And it's felt that actually Rayner is a much better bowler when he bowls it into the pitch to extract that bounce from 6'5". Bowls it harder into the pitch than looking for that flight, which is very difficult for him at 6'5", to get nice flight on it and then get something to rip. Whereas he's far more effective if he bowls it into the pitch and one really does kick on.
But you need the right pitch to do that, and I think this probably isn't that pitch. That one a few years ago where he took those wickets, it was ridiculous, wasn't it? There were players playing it off their nose.
Well, do you remember?
As I say, Amla played him like Amla second innings played him like a quick bowler.
It was going past his throat.
He took his guard outside off stump, foot outside off stump. So Rayner's spinning the ball back into him, and he's just standing there and hooking him.
People give me strange looks when I tell them about that pitch and how the ball used to go past the nose of Hashim Amla.
It was amazing. Fuller. Round the wicket he comes, starting the 19th over, and Sangakkara drives into the offside, and they'll get a single. Tumbling stop in there at short extra cover, away to his right hand side, and 1 more to the total. Rayner did pretty well there, those long arms of Ollie Rayner.
Rayner has come back into the side for Ravi Patel, who bowls quite nicely. But I think because of his record here at the Oval, he's got a slight knee problem at the moment, which I think they're going to try and sort out in the winter.
Right.
So they're managing a little bit his workload.
Round the wicket once more goes Fuller, forward goes Borthwick, pushes this one back up the pitch, and there's no. I may read too much into these things as well, but there's a lot of left-handers in this Surrey batting lineup as well. So I'd have probably thought that had something to do with it with Rayner.
That's what I was going to say. There's a little bit of pressure on him here to take one of these two, because he's into the sides because of his record at the Oval, and right now he's got Sangakkara and Borthwick, 2 big key wickets, and the skipper's saying to Ollie, I need one of these, and sooner rather than later.
Fuller. Round the wicket he comes, and Borthwick will just help it off his hip again, down towards fine leg for another single, because the field's set once again for Fuller to the 2 lefties coming round the wicket. He's got a man at long leg, a man at deep backward square, and it is such a long carry out there. There's the short mid wicket, the mid on, the mid off, sweeper on the cover rope, extra cover, backward point, and the 3rd man. So on that angle, that again, even though they've got a single, it'll feel a bit like a dot ball to Fuller. But then he's that last ball of his last over is lovely. Got it right up to Sangakkara. Just had him groping a touch outside his off stump. Fuller. Round the wicket to Sangakkara, and Sangakkara will pull off his hip, and guess what, everybody, it's a single down to long leg. 1 more to the total. Sangakkara on to 35, 89 for 1.
Gareth Batty got 1 for 38 off his 10. It was good, and I think Middlesex would take that right now from Ollie Rayner, 1 for 38 off his 10. But funnily enough, as you say, with all the left-handers, I think Surrey would take that as well. 1 for 38 off 10 from Rayner. If they would say that's the end, I think they'd probably take that themselves.
I think as well, the other thing to look at with Rayner, and we did with Batty, is the number of dot balls he's bowling, because
Well, Rayner's had an expensive start. He's gone for 17 off 3 so far.
I'm just looking at this now, actually. 8 dot balls in his 3 overs so far. As short ball pulled off his hip again by Borthwick. They'll get 2 because he split the 2 men down there. So Borthwick gets back for a couple. That's a good bit of batting from Borthwick. He just got himself a little more inside that so he could get it between the 2 fielders out there. 91 for 1. I think Batty bowled 31 dots in his 10 overs. So Rayner's had the 3 overs, so 18 balls, 8 of which have been dots. So Surrey have found runs off 10 of those deliveries from Ollie Rayner. As Borthwick stands with that bat raise, good hubbub around the ground, as we were saying, lots of conversations. Fuller is in, and Borthwick's up on his toes, punches straight back up the pitch. Fuller does the fielding off his own bowling. End of the over, 4 off that one. Gets a pat on the back from Ollie Rayner, does James Fuller. 91 for 1 then, Surrey. The partnership continues to build between Kumar Sangakkara, 35 not out, and Scott Borthwick, 41 not out. But yeah, it's fascinating stuff. You're right, it's that time of the year. You're not going to see many 400s play 400. And I just enjoy this sort of watching both sides work out how they're going to go about what they need to do.
Well, this is the attraction of List A cricket for the purists. Angus Fraser always talks about it. He said, look, he enjoyed the 40 over game and he was a bit disappointed when it did go back to 50 over cricket. But the one thing with 50 over cricket is you could go and watch a first class game and maybe your favourite batsman is in the field that day, or your favourite bowler's in the dressing room while his side's batting. When you go and watch List A cricket, especially 50 over cricket, you know that your player is going to get a chance to perform. Whether it's a batsman or whether it's a bowler, you're going to see your favourite player, and that's the attraction of going to watch 50 over cricket. And today's a great example of that, because as you say, there's real skill involved. Even though it's not a big high scoring match, it's a different type of skill, and it's almost a proper cricket skill, which is a little bit of an old fashioned thing to say, a proper cricket skill. But as you say, this is going to require a lot of thought, and actually that thought now is just switching to Middlesex, isn't it? They've got to find this wicket without an expense coming with it.
The only thing here, this partnership's worth 73 off 14 overs. They've been going at 5.2 according to this thing in front of me. 5.2 and over. The required run rate is 4.94. It was 5.2.
Yeah.
So they're exactly where they needed to be with no risk cricket. Messrs Borthwick and Sangakkara. But what we've seen is, and again, sorry everyone, it is boring me telling you this the whole time, but people might be tuning in for the first time, is over the 2 games that we've had here, we haven't seen one significant batting partnership. At this stage, someone's always gone. So that'll be in the back of Sangakkara and Borthwick's minds. They're the ones out there now, get the job done. Middlesex will still think, well, if we can get rid of one of these 2, then we're right back in it here. As it's Ollie Rayner, round the wicket from the pavilion end to Kumar Sangakkara, gives this lots of air. Sangakkara nudges it leg side. Now, for Sangakkara, he's brought up his square leg to the edge of the circle. He's got fine leg on the edge of the circle. Has Rayner. Sangakkara's forward, and the punch drive down the ground for a single. Walks after it, does Kumar Sangakkara. One of those where the batsman's using his feet anyway, then punches the ball down the ground, just keeps walking after the shot. One more to the total. Sangakkara moves on to 36. 92 for 1. When you do that when you're batting, not that I ever really did, you do look like you know what you're doing. As Rayner is in, forward goes Borthwick, pushes this one down the ground, and there's no run. When you come down the pitch, push it and then keep walking. Just think, they sort of know what they're up to. Of course, that was Kumar Sangakkara, who certainly does. Ollie Rayner is into Borthwick. Single here, Borthwick just nudges leg side. They'll settle for that, Sangakkara and Borthwick. One more to the total.
There's got to be a temptation at the moment for Franklin to bring back Roland Jones.
We see Ollie Rayner could come out of this with very tidy looking figures if they just keep knocking him around, but then they've knocked him out the attack. Rayner is in. Forward goes Sangakkara. Another single. Just pushes it out towards that sweeper on the cover boundary rope. If he goes at 4 and over off his 10 overs, he'll none for 40 off 10.
Well, even if he got the one for 30, tidy. Even if he got the 1 for 38 that Batty got, I think Surrey would absolutely love that.
Take that.
Because they'll win the match, I think, if Rayner comes out with figures like that, worse than that, and they'll win it easily, I think.
94 for 1. Rayner is into Borthwick. Borthwick forward just stabs this one out towards extra cover. End of the over, 94 for 1. 20 gone, and even though I did a rotor, Kevin Han and Daniel Norcross have changed my rotor, so I'm now vacating, and Daniel Norcross with a note is coming.
Oh, a note as well. Is it a note for his absence? 5 Live Sports Extra and BBC Radio London together here at the Oval. This Royal London One Day Cup fixture, and Surrey 94 for 1 in a very, very strong position here. Now, is there a change of bowling? There is, and it's not going to be a return for Roland Jones. It's a little bit of a gamble because this is to buy a wicket, but it could be bought very expensively. It's David Milan into the attack from the nursery end.
I like this proactive captaincy.
Well, it is, but they're at the point where it's only 150 to win, and I know that's easy to say because of the time of year and it's not big scoring matches, but 150 to win, you've got to favour Surrey quite strongly at this point, unless Middlesex have to bowl Surrey out now. Middlesex are going to have to bowl Surrey out. That means taking wickets and breaking this partnership very, very quickly. Sangakkara 37, Borthwick 42. I was suggesting that he might even have to go back to his strike bowler right now, get Roland Jones back on down below us at the Vauxhall ends to try and break this partnership, because there's a lot on Ollie Rayner as the spinner to do even better than Batty did in the 1 for 38, i.e. 2 or 3 for 38. But someone also needs to play that Ravi Rampal role, 4 for 40. And your best bet for that is Toby Roland Jones.
Well, he does love bowling here, Ollie Rayner. I dare say you've been talking about that at great length. I always thought, he'd have been picked for England by now if he'd been at Surrey. He'd have taken 100 wickets a season.
Well, that's true, on this pitch, yeah. Well, funny you should say that. Here's David Milan, the leg spinner. Full toss first ball, slapped away through the covers. It's a short boundary, and that is for 98 for 1. Sangakkara 41. As I say, it's a gamble. It's a big, big gamble here right now, but they're gambling that they can buy a wicket with Milan. How quickly can that wicket be bought, if at all?
Yes, it is a gamble, isn't it? And I suppose it's an experiment that will last probably 2 overs if it doesn't come off, would you think?
Absolutely, yeah. 3 if they're relatively cheap overs. Milan again bowls, and this is guided away down towards that short third man, the shortest boundary of all, and that is going to be 4 more, so 102 for 1, and almost exactly how we teed up this over.
Well, do you know, it's a little bit unfortunate that Milan has come on at precisely the moment that he's going to be bowling at Kumar Sangakkara, who's not a shabby player of spin.
Yeah.
Which is a little unfortunate.
And I know the fellow leg spinner Borthwick at the other end. Has come up, deep mid wickets drop back. It's Borthwick on strike on 42. Long off is still back as this ball drops short and is dragged out to square leg. Sweeper coming around is Gubbins. They've got a single, 104 for 1. Well, you said 2 overs. I said 3 potentially if it's not too expensive after the first over. He might be lucky to get a second, Milan. I feel it's got to be Roland Jones at this stage to go back to, because otherwise you're going to leave him nothing to go back with it at the end. You've got to get him in now. 140 more to win. Sorry, 104 for 1. And Milan on a length is played down to long on by the experienced Sangakkara, who just waited on that ball, knowing that it's not going to be too much mystery in it from Milan. And a single to end the over. No, Milan thought it was the over. Oh, he wanted out of the over there, didn't he? Yeah. He wanted his cap and jumper there.
He's gone for 11 already, hasn't he?
Gunnar Gould said, sorry, Davey, you've got to bowl one more delivery first.
Why do you think long ons come up for Borthwick and goes back for Sangakkara?
I think, well, here's Milan to Borthwick. He eases it to backward point. There's no run. 105-1. I think Middlesex know Borthwick very, very well, all too well, in terms of the style of cricket he likes to play. And I think they'll feel that he will go bottom hand into the onside. Right. Having played so much against him in recent years and had to watch so much of his batting, he's averaging something ridiculous like 94 against Middlesex in recent years.
Do you know, I was at Chelmsford yesterday and we were given the stat that Michael Klinger averages 142, or he did until yesterday's 31, 142 in the last 2 years against Essex.
Oof.
568 runs, 4 dismissals. So is Borthwick the sort of the clinger of...
He is.
Of Middlesex, so to speak.
He is. Here is Rayner, lots of pressure on his shoulders right now, gives it a lot of flight, and Sangakkara drops a single. A poor throw to the non-striker's end is backed up by Helm down at long on, so it is just the single. 105 for 1.
That said, everywhere you go when you commentate on a Gloucester game, the other side always say, oh, Klinger gets loads of runs against us. Partly because he gets loads of runs against everybody.
He does, well, can you not mention Gloucester around Middlesex fans, please? As here's Rayner, he bowls, and this is driven down to long on by Borthwick for a single, moves to 44, 107 for 1, a 100% win record against Middlesex in all completed 2020s. 100%
and it's 9,
win record.
Isn't it? Is it 9?
It's 9 or 10. It's there or thereabouts.
And
then last week, of course, came back from 65 for 5 to chase 257 at Lords against a strong attack as well. Here is Rayner, and Sangakkara pushes to extra cover, no run.
These bogey teams are odd. Sorry, Glamorgan's their bogey team in T20. Always get beaten by Glamorgan.
Ooh.
Badly, usually.
Oh dear. Sangakkara forward pushes back to
what are you saying, Kevin Hand? What are you saying, Kevin Hand? Mercifully, most of Glamorgan fans will be listening to their game at the moment.
Yeah, they're at Radlett next week, so I'm going to be very close to them as well, so I'm saying nothing.
Ed Bevan?
Yes, indeed. Oh, it will be Ed next week. Rayner bowls, loss of flight, and driven down to long off by Sangakkara, moves to 49, 108 for 1. Churchy was saying there's a big difference obviously between this pitch and the one where he took the 15 wickets. There's not a great deal of bounce in this one for Rayner. He's giving it lots of flight as a result.
It's tough though, isn't it? For the very tall off spinner, that flight is quite hard to do when you're 6'5".
Indeed. He's in now, bowls, and slightly flatter one, tickled around the corner for a single to the short fine leg by Borthwick, and end of the over, 109 for 1. That's the end of the 22nd. Borthwick 45, Sangakkara 49, but Middlesex have to make something happen now, and Rayner's 5 overs through his 10. He's going to bowl through because he is the man that's got to really find something here, and he has bowled with a lot of flight so far, and I wonder, has he got to gamble and go that little bit flatter into the track and see if it can get him the wicket. Milan is going to get a second over, which I think is quite right.
I think this is the over though, isn't it? If it doesn't happen here, I suppose if he creates a chance perhaps, but it's
if it doesn't happen here, I think they've got to go back to Roland Jones.
Think you're right.
Otherwise I think the game is gone. 135 more to win. In 20, we've had 22 overs, 28 overs to go. It's a modest T20 chase. And they've got 9 wickets standing and 28 overs to get them. Here is Milan. Bowls, a nice bit of flight on that one. It's driven in the air down to long off and taken by Helm. Borthwick is gone at long off. 109 for 2. Well done, James Franklin. Well done, David Milan. Well done, Tom Helm, just diving forward slightly to scoop underneath that one. Borthwick goes for 45. The partnership broken. Churchy is still to see a sizable partnership in these last 2 matches here at the Oval, but that's a huge wicket for Middlesex because
well
Surrey
done, skipper.
Well on top. Exactly
well
as I said. Well done, James Franklin. Well done, James Franklin.
And you've got to say, Borthwick's going to be furious, isn't he? Because he got there and then he just didn't go through with the thought. He sort of checked it, but he didn't check it enough because it landed in the hands of the fielder. Low down, good catch. But had he checked it a bit better, it would have landed 5 yards in front of him. Or had he gone through with it, he could have cleared the fielder. But he's caught in 2, 3, 4 minds. Who knows how many minds? I'm not in the mind of Borthwick. Borthwick is. But a good wicket, an important wicket. And you've got to say Surrey's still on top at the moment. Duckworth Lewis par, which is usually a very good indicator. He's got 86 at the moment, even despite that second wicket going down. But Surrey have got quite an inexperienced middle order and quite a long tail. So Middlesex fans out there, I know you're never anything but extremely confident about your side's abilities. And
no, I wouldn't say so in white ball cricket.
No,
they're very pessimistic about white ball cricket.
But playing against Surrey, they know there's something on this here. There's a tremendous amount of animosity towards Surrey, and they'll know that Middlesex are really up for the fight.
Well, for sure. I mean, the one thing I was going to say is if Surrey do win it, it keeps alive the chances of a Surrey Middlesex final in July.
Just about, but Somerset are going well, so you'd think they're going to be 4 for 4. So it's going to be a lot's going to depend on Essex. So there's only 3 teams. Only 3 teams can go through the group. So Essex would have to start to lose games shortly for that to happen. Yeah. So the last Surrey Middlesex final was the Gillette Cup final of 1980, was it?
Oh, good from you.
I was there.
I was 1.5.
Middlesex trounced Surrey that day.
Here is Milan bowls, and this is cut away out towards the cover boundary. Sangakkara brings up his 50. Well batted, 110 for 2. And well, a Sangakkara 50 is something everybody always wants to see. Has been a very good innings. Again, on a day that you would have thought the bowler should just about have it over the batsman, judging by the totals. So it puts this 50 into perspective. 54 balls and 5 fours.
That's about as fluent as anyone's been today, isn't it? You've got to say Simpson and Gubbins batted excellently as well, actually.
Milan to Burns, who gets a googly. Does he play it on? No, he doesn't. Oh, Burns, rock back, look to cut, bottom edge into the ground and just past the stumps.
Dawid Milan's turned into Shane Warne in the last 4 balls. What are we going to see next? The Zooter?
In he comes on some more bowls, and a googly again. It's driven down to long off. 111 for 2.
Got to say, you're picking his googly better than the batsman at the moment.
Well, there's not going to be a huge amount of variation with Dawid Milan.
Yeah.
He is a pretty good leg spinner, actually. But one of the keys to leg spin is the variations, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely.
He comes in now to Sangakkara, drives off an inside edge onto his pads.
This has been such a better. This is the classic part-timer, though, isn't it? I would say part-timer. It's a bit more than a part-timer. But his first over wasn't on the money. Second over, he's now bowled 6 balls. He is on the money.
Moves in, bowls a lot of flight right up there, and it's driven watchfully down to long off for a single by Sangakkara. He's on to 51, 112 for 2. Surrey, 132 more to win.
From Surrey's perspective, they can afford, and this is something about a relatively small total, when you know that it's going to be 243 you're after, rather than setting that 243, is that they can afford to go gently at the beginning of a partnership. You know, Sangakkara can afford to let Rory Burns take his time, because there are 27 overs here, 132 to get. The required rate is just under 5 runs an over, so with one set batsman in, he doesn't have to worry if Burns takes up 2, 3, 4 overs getting his eye in, doesn't he? That's the advantage.
It gives Middlesex a little bit of breathing space as well, if they can keep the runs down at this stage, as Rayner's around the wicket, bowls, and Sangakkara looks to stroke into the offside, gets a thick inside edge that deflects towards mid-wicket. In that, I mean, because when Middlesex tried to accelerate, the wickets tumbled, didn't they?
Yep.
And
it's been hard to go at any kind of rate, hasn't it?
That's what Middlesex really have to try here, is to keep it very tight now, as Rayner gives that a huge amount of flight, but easy for Sangakkara to step forward and stroke a single out to the cover boundary. He moves to 52, 113 for 2. His 6th over Rayner. Again, you almost fancy, do they look at Rayner as being a man to just see through his 10 overs quite happily?
Well, they ought to be
go
terrified of him after his performances at the Oval in past years.
But they don't have to try and push him at any more than 4 and over, do they? Comes in now to Burns, and forward goes the left-hander, pushing back. This is, well, he'll be looking for a wicket at both ends, of course, but Burns, the new batsman, it's just an opportunity for Rayner. He's had a good look at 2 left-handers now.
Might you put a slip in?
Not a bad shout. Rayner bowls, down track comes Burns, and drives a single down to long on. Moves to 114 for 2.
Just thinking, with the new bat, you know, and he's turning the ball away from that left-hander.
Yep.
I wonder.
Yep.
As part of it, I was just putting it in the mind of the batsman.
Rayner again bowls, and Sangakkara drives down to long on a single, 115 for 2. Yeah, there's a sweeper on the deep mid-wicket boundary at the moment, isn't he? You wonder, possibly, could he be the man to come across and say to Burns, go on then, if you want to try and whip through square leg mid-wicket, by all means. It's Rayner again. Bowls and Forward goes Burns, pushing back. Very, very crucial moment of this match now for both really, but more so for Middlesex. Surrey are the team that have their noses in front. They're 115 for 2, 129 more required. 24 overs bowled here on 5 Live Sports Extra and BBC Radio London.
It behoves us to start making really pointless speculation about group permutations around about now, because we'll be halfway through for most teams, won't we? Glamorgan are toast at home against Somerset. They're 126 for 5, needing 339 to win, and that's another 213 in 23 overs. That's not going to happen, dare I say. But Kent, who lost their first 2 games, they're in a strong position against Sussex, which starts to make the hunt for third quite interesting.
Milan from the Vauxhall end, he bowls, and forward goes Sangakkara, dabbing into the offside, a third over for Milan.
So Sussex required 201 from 25 overs with 7 wickets in hand. You'd probably make Kent favourites there, wouldn't you? That's nearly 8 and over that Sussex need now.
Milan bowls now, loss of flight. That's a lovely flashing drive outside the off stump from Sangakkara, and he's a sweeper on the cover boundary. Single taken, Sangakkara 54.
A victory for Somerset, which is looking almost certain, would give them 4 out of 4, and that gets them pretty close to qualification. I mean, another 2 wins and they've definitely got it. And and if they finish top of the group, then that's home proper semi-final.
Milan bowls, and long offers come up. Apologies, I didn't notice that. For Burns, it's just a single driven to him.
Where do you stand on the whole nomenclature of quarterfinals? You see, it's now being used by things like MasterChef and now in cricket to mean not the semi-finals, the one before.
Milan bowls, and Sangakkara drives the single to long off, 118 for 2, Sangakkara 55.
See, quarterfinals to me mean there are 8 teams left.
Yes.
But there won't be 8 teams left in the quarterfinals.
Well, they're called playoffs this year, aren't they? They're playoffs.
They are playoffs, right.
The semi-finals.
For a place in the semi-finals.
Exactly.
Yes.
The playoffs are a place in the semi-final. Exactly that.
Yeah, that's more like it.
Bulawayo, Barron's warming up. It wasn't like this morning.
He's lurking.
It wasn't like this morning when we weren't on Sports Extra, was he? He's out of the box. He was all over the place. Hey, look, he's an over ahead in the afternoon session. I wonder why. Here's Burns, drives the single to mid-off. He's on to 4, Burns, 119 for 2.
He's done his hair, he's manicured his nails. He's
big game player.
He's had a little shave. He's warmed up with Entertainer's Secret. Does wonders for his voice.
Here's Milan bowls, and this is driven down to long off for a single by Sangakkara. He's on to 56, and Surrey are on to 120 for 2. That is the end of the over. 25 bowled here on 5 Live Sports Extra and BBC Radio London. So Sangakkara 56, Burns 4. A few words from Daniel Norcross, and it will be the entertainer extraordinaire, Johnny Barron.
Well, he's juggling. He's brought his Diavolo. He's probably got what are those things? A unicycle in his bag. All sorts of stuff like that. Johnny Barron never comes out without his kit bag. Hello, Johnny.
This is Norcross.
Now this is. Yes, you arrive at this ground right now. You see Surrey 120 for 2 in pursuit of 243 or 244. They're halfway through their overs, and you say this is comfortable for Surrey, but I think there's a twist in the tail perfectly possible yet as Ollie Rayner comes around the wicket to the left-handed Sangakkara, who punches beautifully, cuts through backward point, and he scurries back for second. He'll make it. Oh, crikey, that was awfully close to a direct hit, wasn't it? It was a tremendously good throw. He had to get a little bit of a hurry up there, and as a result he's just stretching his groin somewhat. Is he now 39, Sangakkara?
Good vintage, that.
Yeah, it is.
Wow.
You've got to be older than that.
And the rest.
Yeah, I was going to say. Rayner in again, bowls a long paper round, push, cut the wicket.
I can't even remember being 39.
No, I bet you never did a paper round either. I bet you got someone else to do that.
Yeah, I didn't do a massive paper round.
Rayner in again, bowls, and that's again played off the back foot nicely by Sangakkara. It'll just be the one this time as the fielder coming in off the boundary collects. I'll give you the field to the left-handers because Ollie Rayner's turning the ball away from the left-hander, so you might expect there to be more fielders on the offside than the leg, but no, He's got a short leg side boundary, and that is his primary concern. So there's a long on, a deep mid wicket, and a deep backward square leg, short fine leg, and a mid wicket inside the circle on the leg side. As Rayner comes into Burns, who goes for the reverse paddle, and he doesn't really execute it at all well. It dribbles out on the leg side to Toby Rowland-Jones, who collects, and there's no run. And on the offside, we've got a mid-off just inside the circle, extra cover, backward point, and a sweeper on the cover boundary. Next ball played off the back foot. Rayner sprawls in an attempt to stop the ball, but and he's lying there now. He could be there for a while. He's perfectly fine. But,
long way down.
It is a long way down.
A long way back up as well.
It's quite hard, those pitches as well. They're going to hurt, aren't they? So another single to Burns takes him to 5, 124 for 2. 4 runs off this over, and at the moment Surrey will be perfectly happy with 4 runs and over. The required rate's around about 5. Next ball is played by Sangakkara off the back foot, and Rayner makes a very elaborate dive, which I think was partly in jest. He rolls over rather in the manner of Alan Partridge doing the doing the commando stuff. Anyway, end of the over. 26 overs are gone. 124 for 2. Sangakkara 59. Burns will have strike on 5.
Don't make sitcoms like that anymore, do they, Dan?
No.
Partridge.
No, they don't. They make other ones though.
They absolutely. Well, this is, I mean, you look at the scoreboard, you think, well, 120 off 24 overs, 8 wickets in hand, doddle.
Yeah.
But the cricket we watched this week here would suggest otherwise.
It would rather. It's been difficult. The reason why, perhaps, we're not talking this up to try and keep you listening. I don't think we are. No, the reason we're talking in these terms is because we've seen now the best part of 176 overs at the Oval. I'm about to sneeze, excuse me. That's Milan. Comes in off 3 paces from the Vauxhall end, bowls, and Burns clips the ball into the onside. He should get 2 for this because he's got it to the right of deep mid-wicket. The ball comes in. Oh, it's going to be close. A dive from Sangakkara gets him back. And for a while, I thought that was a long 2, but in the end, really good bit of fielding out there by Higgins, running round to his right. He fizzed the ball in over the top of the stumps. They have got back for 2. Burns to 7, 126 for 2, in pursuit of 244 for victory. 118 more required. Milan into Burns, plays off the back foot straight to short extra cover. There's no run. So what I'm saying is, into the sort of 177th over of the games we've watched here, at no point has it looked easy to score at 6 and over. So needing 5 and over, you think is comfortable, but it could become 6 and over, and then it would be uncomfortable. Next ball is worked into the onside by Burns to the left of mid-on. A sprawling half stop by Toby Rowland-Jones is tidied up by Higgins, and they come through for another run. Burns to 8.
It's the second column, isn't it? If Surrey can keep their resources in hand, then it may be a doddle. But wickets have just, you're never in on this from what we've seen on.
Well, the problem here is though, Johnny, that you know, even then, if you keep your wickets in hand, but then you lose a wicket, needing 50 off 8, it's quite hard for the man coming in.
Yeah.
Next ball is smashed in the air and straight to short extra cover, and Sangakkara can't believe what he's done. He has just slapped the ball right at short extra cover at head height, and dare I say it, he's thrown his wicket away. 3 down, and this is exactly what I mean. 127 for 3. Suddenly this game, I say suddenly, my contention is that it's always been a bit tight, and with Surrey's 2 best batsmen in this game, certainly Sangakkara and Borthwick now back in the pavilion, there's going to be I think we're going to have some chewed nails before we get to the end of this game. Warm applause for a good innings by Sangakkara, but nonetheless it was an ignoble end for such a fine and celebrated player. He was attempting to go up and over extra cover against the spin mostly, because I think that one was the conventional leg spinner. He didn't get enough elevation, and he drove it straight into the hands of Franklin, who took a fine catch, but one you'd certainly expect him to take, and he's gone for 59. Is that 59? It is 59.
It is indeed.
Sorry, 127 for 3. Johnny Barron.
Wow.
Well.
Another twist in this tale. There can be a few more, you suspect. Well, I don't know how to describe it. A bit of a brain. That's the great thing about the fallibility of the human mind.
The fallibility even of genius.
Of genius.
Yes.
You see, rendered mortal on that occasion. And that's the beauty of human beings. They make mistakes, which is why people keep coming back to top professional sport.
Because they see so much of themselves in them. You and I could very well identify with the way he got out. Less so, perhaps, with the way he played a delicious late cut.
Well, that's it. I mean, that's the thing, isn't it? Even at the age of 39, with the best part of 30,000 international runs behind him, he's still capable of making what we would look to be as an extraordinary error. And again, it just lets Middlesex back into the game, and down by that, well, he really is looking like Shane Warne.
And also, you've got to say, he knew he'd made a terrible mistake. He sort of dragged himself off with the hangdog expression of Paddington Bear having lost his marmalade sandwiches. He was really...
Which is never good.
That's never good, no. He looked very disconsolate, one might say. It was a slow trudge back to the pavilion. John Simpson is warming up. I'm sure it's not to bowl. I think it might be just because it's Arctic out there.
Well, Surrey's four-man is in, though, isn't he? Ben Folke's been in terrific form in this competition.
I think this is it's the right move as well, isn't it, to get Folkes in at 5. He's batted tremendously, hasn't he? Got a 90-odd in a losing cause against Somerset. He's got 70-odd in a losing cause against Essex. How did he get on against Glamorgan in the winning cause?
Now you're asking me a question. I think he
didn't bat. DNB. Milan bowls to him. He comes forward in defence and pushes. He's timing it so well that ball came off the face of the bat and nearly went into the hands of Franklin at short extra cover. He survived. 127 for 3, and Milan, a combination of O'Reilly, Grimmett and Warne at the moment, is bowling. The ball's been clipped up to long on for a single. Folkes gets off the mark. Burns is not renowned for his fast scoring, and he's not been in tremendous nick in this competition, so Middlesex will quite definitely sniff an opportunity here. 27 overs have been bowled, 128 for 3, another 116 required for victory in 23 overs at, I think that is a rate of 5.04962.
Very good. A light guess. Across, I suspect, but down thereabouts. Rory Burns. Well, what I would say about Rory Burns, and this again could be a commentator's curse incoming, he's a good player of spin.
He is.
Good player of spin. Even with the ball coming across him.
Well, Rayner's got 3. No, Rayner's out of the attack. So just as we talk of this, out comes Rayner, and in comes, I think, it's going to be Roland Jones. So the strike bowler, he's going to be bowling, though, from the pavilion end. He bowled his first 5 overs from the Vauxhall end. And this is, I think, a very fine move from Franklin. Yeah. What he's thinking here, obviously, is Middlesex need 2 or 3 quick wickets. They've opened an end up, insofar as, they've got a new batsman in the crease. Burns hasn't been there that long. Sangakkara has gone. And this they sense as their opportunity. So it's going to be a crucial part of the game here. I'm thinking Roland Jones is going to bowl 2 or 3 overs here, unless he picks up wickets, in which case, who knows? Could bowl him through.
Yeah.
We'll see. Slip is in. That's the intent for you. Folkes is facing up. I'll give you the field after this ball. Roland Jones runs in towards us and left by Folkes with insouciance. We've got a third man and a long leg. We have a sweeper on the offside, and we've got a deep backward square who's about 15 yards in off the boundary for the top-edged hook. There's a slip, backward point, extra, mid-off and a mid-on. So Roland Jones is unlikely to be pitching it up too much. There's a lot of space over the top of mid-on and mid-off and through extra cover. So we're looking at probably shortish deliveries.
Yeah, back of a length.
He's in again. Running in towards us, Folkes with his bat held high, and he defends this ball back at the wicket, well fielded by Toby Roland Jones, who gives him the stare, gives him a double-barrelled stare, and there's no run. 128 for 3. Who do you think is the most aggressive double-barrelled bowler in world cricket history?
Gosh,
that's a kind of tough question, isn't it?
Well, McGrath was never shy, was he?
Yeah, but he's clean McGrath as opposed to Toby Roland Jones. You sort of expected him.
Oh, sorry, as in the double-barreled. Who's the biggest double-barreled? Right, okay.
Quite rare, I'd say. Roland Jones into Folkes, who works this up to mid-on with no timing. There's no run.
Hamilton Brown didn't bother with it much.
Didn't really, no.
Did he? He threw his overs so quickly. Who else have we got?
Yes, I wonder what Leverson Gower was like. It wasn't pronounced Gow, was it? It was Gore, Leverson Gore. I wonder. Or Ingleby Mackenzie. I wonder what. I don't suppose he was that aggressive, was he? He was the chap who said everyone had to be in bed before breakfast. He was the captain of Hampshire, wasn't he?
Hampshire, Colin. Is it Colin?
Colin,
yes, legend.
Everyone must be in bed
Legend.
before breakfast. Roland Jones is into folks. Who cuts off the back foot, drives really off the back foot. A beautiful shot. He'll only get one for it though. The fielder is positioned out there on the sweeper boundary. It's Dawood Malan. And he gets another run, does folks. 129 for 3. Surrey have got a bit of time to be able to rebuild, but by the same token, we've been saying you don't want to be needing 6 and over or more on this pitch. No one's consistently hit 6 and over. I mean, look, I think if you needed 42 off 7 with 6 wickets in hand, you wouldn't mind so much. But if you need 90 off 15, well, that'll start to get a little bit shaky. And that would mean restricting Surrey to 25 in the next 8 overs, which is entirely possible. Roland Jones into Rory Burns, who pushes a full ball into the offside. There's no run. We've only had the 1 run off this over, and Surrey are not going to look to attack Roland Jones at this stage. They're going to look to blunt the strike bowler.
Yeah, the danger with Roland Jones is that you can lose 2 or 3 very quickly, and then Surrey really would be in the mire.
Yeah.
6-5 or 6 down. But it's an old-fashioned Gillette Cup game of the 70s, isn't it? It's a good boycott out there, perhaps.
Well, it was the Gillette Cup that I think was the last Surrey Middlesex Limited Overs Cup final.
80, wow.
Vincent van der Bijl starred that day. Bowled out Surrey cheaply, knocked the runs off easily. Roland Jones bowls, and that's nicely guided by Burns down to third man. He's run the first very quickly to show intent, and then a wonderful throw has come steaming in from the boundary right over the top of the stumps to deny any thought of a second. The over is complete. 130 for 3. Burns has 9. Folkes has 2. 22 overs remain. 114 for victory. That rate is now climbing. It's 5.18. We're informed by the board.
Oh, it is actually up on the board, so you're not actually guessing. I like that, Dan. South African overseas, of course, Vincent, wasn't he?
He was.
Good player.
Yeah, follically challenged. Very, very good bowler. Very good bowler. Took a heck of a lot of wickets.
Yeah, Simon Hughes.
1980, 81.
Simon Hughes in his illustrious book, A Lot of Hard Yucca, said he was an incredible signing by Middlesex.
I think he's right. Now then, is this Malan is continuing, so he's going to bowl a 5th over. After the first one went for 11, he's really pulled it back. I'll get his figures up so we can see what's happened in the last 3 overs. He's going to bowl to Burns. Burns drives to short extra. There's no run. For those of you unfamiliar with Rory Burns, he's got a very interesting. It's not exactly a tick, but it's how he sets himself at the crease. He starts by looking straight at you, and then he sort of tilts his head to one side as if he's looking to see if somebody's sort of coming around the corner. This is a horrible full toss, and some of them are the hardest to put away. It's been slapped out to deep mid wicket. They're coming back for a second. The throw comes in to the non-striker's end, and they make it comfortably. 2 more to the total, 2 more to Rory Burns. He moves to 11.
Yeah, do you know, I just spotted, I mean, on the base I've watched a lot of Rory Burns, that little look around the corner, isn't it?
Yeah, it's weird, isn't it?
Yeah, where was it coming?
Do you like it? Well, he's taken 2 for 12 in his last 3 overs, is Dawood Malan. Bowls again. That's pushed into the offside. They think of a single. It isn't there. It's picked up by, is that the skipper there? I'll look for you. It is the skipper, James Franklin at backward point. Malan again. 132 for 3, another 112 required for victory. This is defended for the back foot, straight back on the wicket, no run. In this London derby, there's a hum, there's a thrum, there's a throb almost at the Oval today. As Malan is in once more, and that's short and clipped really nicely into space. It's going to be 2 more as the fielder runs round at deep mid wicket to collect. It's Ryan Higgins, and they will get 2 more. Burns moves to 13, and at this stage, in a strange sort of way, so be very happy with 4 and over for the next 5 or 6 overs in an attempt to get 2 batsmen in.
Yeah, it would suit them. I don't need to do anything silly.
Once more Malan bowls, and that's slightly short and carved off the back foot out to the sweeper on the offside boundary. That completes the over. 29 gone, 135 for 3, Burns to 14, Folkes to 2, 109 required of 21 overs. And the rate has just crept up a little bit more to 5.19. They needed 5.18 before, it's now 5.19. They'll be happy with that, though, at this stage. And it's such a crucial phase with Toby Rowland-Jones in the attack. The question that Franklin's going to potentially have to ask himself is, if Rowland-Jones doesn't get a wicket in this over, Johnny, does he keep him on for another one? Because then he's starting to, then Rowland-Jones will only have 2 left at the back end of the innings. But or is he gambling that there'll be no back end of the innings if he doesn't use Rowland-Jones now?
Milan spells buying him some time, though, isn't it? Buying him some options.
It is a bit. Here is Rowland-Jones. That's pulled without timing by Rory Burns. A good sprawling stop at mid-wicket. Prevents more than the 1 run. Tom Helm doing the fielding. I've been impressed with him. He bowled very well in that first spell. Hurried the batsman, didn't he?
Well, I think he'll have a big part to say when we get towards the latter stages of this game.
4 overs up his sleeve for Helm. Now Franklin's brought himself into short extra. Still got that slip in. It's quite wide at first slip. He's now moving a little bit finer as I speak. It is obviously Ollie Rayner. Plonks himself at slip. Those bucket hands. Rowland-Jones now into Folkes. Folkes gets right in behind this, defends back at the wicket, no run. There's a bit of pressure on Folkes, though. He knows that Surrey's batting after him has not been in the best of form. Sam Curran and Tom Curran have both had first ballers in this competition, and Sam's not been in the best of form with the bats so far. There's Ollie Pope, who's very promising, but also very young.
Yeah, played so
he'll be Pope,
semi-final last year.
Pope and the 2 Currans, and then quite definitely a tail. Batty, Mika Rampal, in whatever order they choose to come in. In comes Rowland-Jones to Folkes. And he's got a thick top edge on this, and it's going to land safely. Somehow it's landed safely. They think about a second, it isn't there. Sprawling mad stop by Gubbins. Everything's happening out there except a wicket. 1 run has been taken. He went to pull and he got a thick top edge, and it actually sort of looped in gentle arc and landed just behind the square leg umpire. But of course fielders are out there for the top edge, but they weren't expecting it to be that badly played. So they're too far out to take the catch.
I mean, had a square leg or a mid wicket would have snaffled that.
Snaffled. Although, do you remember David Gower dropping that sitter in against New Zealand in 1983, would it be? Or 2 or 3? So I remember the BBC video montage where sorry seems to be the hardest word. It had that in it. Next ball is full and fast and well played by Burns. He just drops his bat and it pushes it to backward point. There's no run though. So that's picked up. The score remains 137 for 3. We're into the 30th over. We've just got 2 balls left in the 30th over. The skipper's behind me, prowling, ready to get back on air. Folkes 3, Burns 15. Very tense moment. You can feel the tension in the crowd. The boundaries are not really coming. It's all about trying to see off Rowland-Jones at this stage for Surrey. And for Middlesex, it's all about trying to get a breakthrough. Here comes Rowland-Jones, and he's beaten with a beauty past the outside edge. An absolute perler. That's pitched and cut away past the bat of Burns. He was turned right round, baby right round, like a record player. 137 for 3.
Knockouts again. Looking at the score, do they need 5.318? Again, it's nothing really in modern one-day cricket, but against Rowland-Jones
and on this pitch in these conditions,
not easy.
Not easy. Yes, what a game! What a game in prospect. A long way to go yet, of course. 20 overs after this as Rowland-Jones comes in to complete the over, his 7th. He bowls to Burns, who just pushes forward in defence. Sends the ball to short extra. That completes a very fine over from Rowland-Jones. He didn't get a wicket in it though. 137 for 3. Folkes 3, Burns 15. 107 for victory off 20 overs at a rate of 5.35 required. 7 wickets in hand. I am going to leave you now, Johnny Barron, I believe, and I'm going to be replaced by the estimable Mark Church.
Yes, as Mark Church gets his bits and pieces together, Darren Milan will continue proceedings. Bowled very well thus far. 2 big wickets as well in the form of Scott Borthwick and Kumar Sangakkara, the 2 left-handers. And Ben Folkes, who's not out on 3, is the man on strike. And the man will continue to operate from over the wicket from the Vauxhall end. Oh, Mr. Church.
Oh, sorry,
Welcome
I
back,
just
sir.
missed the chair completely there. This is interesting.
Good game.
Sort of going along the lines we expected in a way, isn't it?
Here is Milan. He's in it short, and it's slapped away off the back foot very nicely by Ben Folkes. He goes up to 7 as the ball rattles away into the OCS stand for 4 runs. 1 for 1 for 3.
Well, Milan at the moment, 5.1 overs, 2 for 32. So probably James Franklin's thinking, can I get another couple out of it?
Yeah.
He's picked me up a couple of crucial wickets, Borthwick and Sangakkara. Can I get another couple out of him? Could I get through all 10? As Milan is over the wicket, and forward goes Folkes and whips this one down the ground towards long on. They're going to pick up another single. One more to the total. One more to Ben Folkes. Folkes is on to 8, 142 for 3. Now what's going on?
Sorry about that. Don't know why I was called that. Apparently John Simpson's struggling a bit.
Is he?
Yeah. Sorry about that.
Ooh.
Now Milan to continue from the Vauxhall end. Just pushing his mid-wicket a little bit straighter.
Well, as long as he's not coming on to bowl, he should be all right.
Well, exactly. Milan is into Burns, who works it nicely through on the onside, and the skipper James Franklin does the fielding, and there is 1 run.
He'll continue to struggle if he gets throws like that.
That's why Roland Jones does the fielding.
Well, and it's very interesting this, because we had the partnership at 91, and then as we've been saying laboriously throughout I had, you were half expecting a wicket to go, because it's exactly what's happened over the past 2 games here on this pitch.
As indeed. Here is Milan, and Folkes sweeps beautifully. Fraction in front of square for 4 runs, and he's picking up on the same form that he showed on Tuesday. Lovely shot from the wicketkeeper batsman. He goes up to 8, the score up to 12, the score up to 147 for 3.
It's good batting, isn't it? Right-hander on strike to the leg spinner, short leg side barrier. He's got to pick the right one to sweep, because the sort of stop delivery from Milan's going to be going away, so you've got to go and fetch it. That one was just around about on middle, which enabled him to sweep away to the leg side.
Here is Milan again, short to Folkes, who tucks him away nicely on the onside up to deep mid-on. Helm with the fielding, they go through for a single. The greatest of throws again.
If John Simpson is struggling, I'd be off by now. There's 2 now in the dirt right in front of him.
Horrible
Poor
throws.
fella.
Don't want to see those when you're struggling a touch, poor lad. And Rory Burns back on strike on 16 not out. The good man for a nudge and nurdle. Here is Milan, and it's full of length, and Burns just pushes him away on the offside off the front foot. And there is no run, end of the over. Good one from a Surrey perspective, 148 for 3.
So now Milan's 2 for 38 off his 6.
So
the key figure
is the second column.
Is the fourth column. 2. That's the key figure from Milan.
Yeah, absolutely.
He's taken Borthwick and Sangakkara, and they would have taken your hand off for that. When those 2 were going, you were just beginning to think to yourself, could this be the one big partnership? But then Borthwick goes, Sangakkara goes, both the shots they won't be best pleased with, and all of a sudden game on again.
Yeah, so now it's Higgins into the attack. So Roland Jones, just a couple of that second spell of his, 5 in the first, 2 in the second. He'll have 3 up his sleeve.
Sorry, JB, but the thing now is the required run rate has gone up to 5.5, but they're at 4.77. So actually 5.5 is no risk cricket, especially with all this surface to play with.
With 2 players who are very, very capable of knocking it about, so to speak. And Higgins, right arm over. He's got a long on. Otherwise, the scouts are square on either side, and just behind square, just down here at third man, mid-wicket, just being moved across. Here is Higgins into the attack, right arm over into the right-handed Ben Folkes. Higgins bowls, and Folkes works him nicely through the onside. They could get back for 2. They have a look. Just the 1. Nice bit of fielding at long on in front of the Mickey Stewart members pavilion. Score goes up to 149 for 3.
So it'll be interesting to see the field that Higgins has. Left-hander on strike, Simpson up to the stumps. Now all the space, the longest boundary is out towards the covers again. He's going to have a sweeper on the cover rope, a third man for the little open face nurdle. Backward point, extra cover, mid-off. Now long on, short boundary down to long on. The mid-wicket, short straight mid-wicket, deep backward square, fine leg on the edge of the circle.
Here is Higgins still operating over the wicket to the left-handed Rory Burns, who's on strike. Keeper stood up, Higgins down, just pushes out on the offside. They hurry through for a quick single, and actually the ball was in the air a while as well. But a good bit of running in the end, and the 150 is up, sorry.
Slow ball. It was gripped a touch, I think, on Rory Burns, and he was a little early on the shot, but it looped into the offside and picked up the single. I wonder if Milan will get another over. I think he's probably done his job now, hasn't he?
Yeah, absolutely. Here is Higgins into Ben Foakes, who again works him nicely up to long on, and there is 1 run. Again, another good man for the job here, isn't he, Ben Foakes? He does work the field nicely.
Absolutely, and he's in good form.
Yeah.
You know, he's got a fantastic average this season in the Royal London One Day Cup.
A couple of not outs, is it? Or certainly the one.
Yeah. It's a good average. I'll find it for you in a minute.
Here is Higgins wide of Rory Burns. Probably misses out on that one, trying to flail it through the offside. John Simpson, who stood up, doesn't take it cleanly, but there's no run.
I've just worked out they're not really quarter-finals, are they?
No,
there's only 2 games. It can't be a quarter-final because quarter is 4.
Well, you've got playoffs before that, haven't you?
Yeah, but it's 4 games.
Yes. Anyway, here is Higgins and driven by Rory Burns up to the skipper James Franklin at extra cover, and there is no run.
Yeah, because the top 2 go straight to the semi-final and get a home draw.
Yeah.
And then team finishing second in each group receives a home draw against the team finishing third.
Bingo.
Only 2 groups.
Here is Higgins
2
against
games.
Burns, just checked off the back foot against James Franklin, the skipper. There is no run. The end of the over, 151 for 3.
You mean 4 games for a quarter-final?
Well, you do, of course you do.
Quarters work in 4s.
They do.
Unless, well, my education was completely wasted anyway, but even I know that.
Got that GCSE in the end, though.
I did, yeah. 11th attempt.
Good work.
151 for 3 then. Yeah. So Milan comes out the attack. He's done his job though. Those 2 wickets absolutely key from Milan, and Fuller is coming back into the attack now.
Yes.
But here you are. So Ben Foakes averages in the Royal London One Day Cup at the moment 184.
That is.
And steady, isn't it?
Quite handsome. That.
Yes. So 184 he's averaging.
Very nice.
At the moment. Well, if he averages
keeps that going.
Yeah, we'll
across
go home early.
Across 10 games. Yeah, James Fuller, who in his previous spell was basically just pushing it across the left-handers and inviting them to play the ball away from the onside. It'll be interesting to see how he fares up with Ben Foakes.
Yeah, because he's got a right-hander now with a short leg side boundary.
Any error here, Foakes will be all over it. There is a man back at fine leg. There's a deep square as well, but there are other hitting options for him. And down below us, 2 men straighter inside the circle, a couple of scouts away as well on the leg side, behind and in front of square. Here's Fuller, and it is full to Ben Foakes, who misses out on a delicious full toss and just pokes it back to the bowler.
Yeah. If he's going to go short, it's either going to be that clever slower bouncer, or very short and get it up around head high. Because anything over pitched, you've got defence sweeping on that cover up, because there's so much ground to work with.
Here is Fuller again. Right arm over to Foakes, who drives nicely through the offside. James Franklin does the fielding. To mid-off, scampering around to his left-hand side. They get through for a single, 152 for 3.
But you just get that feeling again that this is beginning to bubble up towards a very tense finish.
Well, I mean, Foakes and Burns can take the tension out of it just by being there for the next 15 overs or so, can't they?
Yeah, and
But
that's an obvious, absolutely, a spot on. But no one's done that yet.
no,
over the last
nothing all week.
last week of cricket here.
Here is Fuller, still operating over the wicket. The left-handed Burns is in, and Burns flicks it in nicely. Should scamper back for a couple here as it disappears down to fine leg, and the score goes up to 154 for 3. Rory Burns moves up to 19 not out.
And Rory Burns can manoeuvre the ball. He likes that.
He's good
He
scamper
likes,
as well,
yeah,
won't he?
absolutely. He likes to just nurdle that ball leg side with a quick roll of the wrists.
It's always tailor-made for him, isn't it? The way he plays. And yes, fine leg has been a massive feature in all the Fuller spells. Changing back to that angle to earlier on. Right arm around into Burns. Short, and Burns pulls across the line nicely. Pulls it down to fine leg. And they get through for a single. 1-5-4 for 3. That short ball of Fuller's is almost telegraphed now, Mike Church.
It's a dot ball. I know it's a run, but it feels like a dot ball, really. It's just a single. Elsewhere, Johnny Barron in the Royal London One Day Cup. Leicestershire 211, Durham are almost there. 201 for 5, Durham. Somerset 338 for 3, Glamorgan 160 for 9. So there'll be another win for Somerset.
Here is Fuller into Folkes, who punches beautifully off the back foot, just out to deep square on the extra cover boundary, and they get up for 1 run. Score goes up to 156 for 3.
Kent 331 for 7. Sussex 187 for 3 with 15 overs remaining. So that could be a good finish. Lancashire made 324 for 8. Northampton 218 for 3. So they're going along very nicely. 33 overs in that one have disappeared. Notts 303 for 6. Warwickshire 181 for 1 in the 33rd.
Here is Fuller round the wicket to Burns, who again is clipping nicely backward to square on the leg side. Ball pushed across him. Here we go again. Another single down to fine leg. 157 for 3.
Yeah, Fuller's ended up with his hands on his head there because Burns has taken that off the top of middle stump. And Worcestershire 342. Yorkshire 212 for 6. Ooh. So a bit of work to do. And if you haven't heard, England beat Ireland earlier on today.
Before lunch.
Yes. With 30 overs to spare, actually. And England win by 7 wickets, which is why you're with us here on BBC Radio 5 Live Sports Extra. But it's lovely to have you with us.
It is. It's a pleasure to be broadcasting around the nation. A few people will be on manoeuvres about now, won't they? I'd imagine the old DAB on in the car.
Yes, yeah.
Be enormously disappointed to hear there isn't a one-day international to listen to, but we'll do our best.
Well, yes.
Keep you entertained. Here is Higgins again. Punched back nicely by Rory Burns. And there is no run. 157 for 3.
Ben Folkes did well there. Had to dive back at the non-striker's end because Burns hit it straight back at Higgins, who did the old pretend I'm going to throw back at the stumps.
Higgins again. A right arm over. Is in to Burns. Picks him up nicely through the onside off the front foot. Couple of bounces and away for 4 runs into the Bedson stand. Lovely shot, full of length, and he, I guess, gets a bit of a free swing at that one.
I'm going to disagree with you, Johnny Barron. It's not a lovely shot, it's an effective shot. That's how I'd describe it from Rory Burns, because that's the shortest side of the ground for him as a left-hander, and it's on a length that he's just thumped it over the leg side with the bottom hand for 4. It's a very effective shot, that, from Rory Burns, isn't it? 161 for 3. Good bit of batting, though, from Rory Burns.
My level, that's lovely, that is. Here is Higgins again into Burns, who again pushes nicely through the onside on the front foot up to long on. And the fielding is done neatly, and they get through for a single.
But again, that's just all about working out where you can go if you get a length delivery. And it made a thumping sound as well, didn't it, off his bat? It was a no-nonsense thump from Rory Burns, taking nothing away from the shot, but it was effective.
Here is Higgins to Ben Folkes. Ben Folkes pushes back to the bowler, and there is no run.
Just looking at who's got what left, that makes sense to anybody. Toby Rowland-Jones got 3 left. Helm's got 4 left. Fuller's got 4 left. Rayner's got 3 left. So you might have to see, well, you will probably see a bit more of Rayner.
Dear, oh dear. Somebody's just walking across the sight screen.
Right in front of the sight screen. There you are. You take your time. Don't worry, there's a game of cricket on, but you take your time.
Here is Higgins into Folkes, who drives through the onside nicely up to long on. And they get through for a single, 1-6-3 for 3.
So after this over, there's 16 left. So 3 from Roland Jones, 4 from Helm is 7, 4 from Fuller is 11, 3 from Rayner is 14. Still got to find a couple.
Higgins is in to Rory Burns, who again just tucks him nicely on the onside, up on the front foot, down to long on, and there is a single. Score goes up to 1-6-4 for 3. And was that the end of the over? No. Yes. Yes, it is the end of the over.
Very good from you. Folkes 18, Burns 27.
The umpire's confusing me by loitering down there.
Yes.
But,
yeah.
There we go.
Yeah.
Cap.
Yeah.
Cap back.
I normally go with the fact that Fuller's taking off his jumper.
Yeah, there is that.
That's normally a clue.
Was that a good visual clue that I missed?
Yes. No, so interesting. 16 left. So I wonder if Higgins might bowl those 2 spares.
Yeah, he's got a couple under the wire, hasn't he? Just conceding the 1 boundary here. Here we go. Fine leg and deep square in play here. As Fuller comes into the left-handed Rory Burns. And, it's a slower ball, I think. Eventually gets the other end. It's just pushed neatly off the back foot by Burns. Back to Fuller. There's no run. And, Fuller operating from the Vauxhall end here. Round the wicket.
Yeah, so if I've read it properly and listened to Mr. Norcross today, so top team from each group goes straight into the semi-finals. Then there'll be 2, they're not quarter-finals, are they? They're playoffs.
Here is Fuller wide of the crease to Burns, who looks to run it away on the offside. Nearly got a little nibble through to Simpson at wicket as the keeper. Lucky, really. 1-6-4 for 3 still.
So second will play third, and second will play third. And then the winners of those games will go into the semi-final against the 2 top teams. There you are, you see. That's not a quarter-final.
No.
You need 4 for a quarter-final.
You can see why I was confused. Here is Fuller. Into Burns, short. Oh, Burns doesn't play that well actually. Leading edge nearly goes straight to gully. It's a shorter, it's a slower ball, I would say, as well. It's through its fraction early. Lucky on that occasion by Burns.
That's well bowled by Fuller.
It is.
Just rolled his fingers across it, and Rory Burns was through that pull shot very early. I think it probably ended up just hitting him on the hip.
Is that arguably the longest setup I think we've watched in cricket? Because he's banged away, hasn't he, on that line of length, Fuller. Finally dropping in a slower one.
Well, the other thing is that Rory Burns has been jumping across his stumps and just nipping him off his hip down to fine leg.
Here is Fuller again, wide of the crease again, floated up on the full toss, and it's driven by Rory Burns back down the ground to mid-off, and there is no run. 1-6-4 for 3 still.
Rayner's getting warmed up down there below. So this is interesting now. 4 deliveries, 4 dots from Fuller. Rory Burns doesn't need to do anything spectacular here, but just a little bit of build-up of pressure here from Fuller.
If you could sneak another couple of dots under the carpet, that would be valuable.
And a maiden.
Absolutely. Fuller into Rory Burns, short, and Rory Burns just tucks him off the back foot nicely back with a square on the offside, down to third man, and they jog through for a single. 1-6-5 for 3.
That wasn't the case last year though with the old Royal London One Day Cup, was it? We had 4 quarter-finals.
Yes,
we did. Yes, definitely.
Northampton for us, Surrey, wasn't it?
Yes,
and then Headingley. Was it Headingley?
Headingley for the semi-final. He didn't make that trip.
No, neither.
Nor the trip to Northampton.
Yeah, but that's terrible scheduling.
Well, exactly, because that's normally around about your trip to Corfu for 3 weeks, isn't it? So this year you might get lucky.
Here is Fuller, the right-handed Folkes, who lashes him through on the onside, on the pull out to deep mid-wicket. There is a man back. They just get a single. 2 runs off the over. 1-6-6 for 3. And Church will be pleased to hear I'm all done.
Well, you're not yet, because no one else has come in yet to take over from you, so you're absolutely fine. You stay there.
Marvellous.
I don't know why I bother doing a rota.
Wonderful.
166 for 3. Oh, I think Kevin Hand will be in a moment. I think he's doing an update.
Is he?
He is, next door.
Climax.
For BBC Radio
Isn't it?
London, 94.9 FM he's probably on at the moment. So you stay where you are, Johnny Barrett.
All here, sir.
Not quite sure where Daniel Norcross has gone. He'll be perambulating somewhere, I'm sure. 166 for 3. It's probably impromptu writing of a book by Norcross this afternoon, or a speech somewhere inside the ground. It's the Surrey Dining Club today.
Is it?
Maybe he's broken into that.
I remember hosting that a few years ago.
Did you really?
Yeah. While I think I cheekily nipped over. I think I was doing commentary with you.
Oh, you came out.
Nipped over.
Interesting.
Got Ram Prakash on, so I think everybody knew who he was,
Yes,
admittedly, when I was introducing him. And then toddled back again. And Gus Fraser.
That's where you went when I was there for 3 hours on
Sorry
my own.
about that.
166 for 3 then. Ollie Rayner to bowl the 36th over. So the right-handed Folkes is on strike. He's got 2 men back on that huge leg side boundary. The long on, mid-off, short straight mid-wicket, fine leg on the edge of the circle, sweeper on the cover rope. Ollie Rayner over the wicket to Folkes, and Folkes nudges him down the ground for a single. 1 more to the total, 1 more to Folkes. Folkes moves on to 20. 167 for 3 here on BBC Radio 5 Live Sports Extra Surrey. Chasing 244. Middlesex 243 in their innings for 9. Again, 2 batsmen went past 50 for Middlesex in the shape of Gubbins and Simpson, but no one could go on. It's been the same here really for Surrey. 167 for 3. Ollie Rayner to come round the wicket to Rory Burns, the left-hander, and Burns is using his feet. Nice shot. Just checks it down the ground for a single, and again it's one of those lovely shots. I was saying it was Sangakkara, where the batsman uses his feet to the spinner, hits it, and then just keeps walking. It's the equivalent of if you're very cool and you're trying to catch the bus and you just stroll up to the side of the bus as it moves off and just step on. 168 for 3. Rayner over the wicket to the right-handed Folkes, just whips him down the ground for a single. It's nicely played by Folkes, sensibly played by Ben Folkes. He's on to 21 now. Surrey move on to 169 for 3.
Yeah, you need a 1950s route finder for that to be effective, don't you? Stepping on the platform at the back.
Yeah. Them were the days. Sound of a siren down the Harleford Road, as here is Burns using his feet, picks it up on the full toss, whips it out towards deep mid-wicket, and they will pick up a single. Kevin Hand's back. He's done his update for BBC Radio London 94.9 FM. So Kevin Hand will come and take over from Johnny Barron, who's got to go and get changed in a minute. Oh no, he's off again. He's off again. Over the wicket, he's busy. Over the wicket comes Rayner. This is tucked away by Folkes out towards deep mid-wicket. They'll stroll another single. 1 more to Folkes. He's on to 22. 171 for 3. This is almost like the setup for the big finish, isn't it, really, at the moment, with these two? But again, with what we've seen over this week, Johnny Barron, can these two keep going? Rayner is in. It's the reverse sweep from Rory Burns. That was his one option, and he's played it very well with the 3rd man on the edge of the circle. The reverse sweep, it's a dangerous shot, but he's played it really well, Rory Burns, and that has whistled off to the boundary rope for 4. Burns moves on to 34 now, and this is a good partnership at the moment. It's worth 48, and Surrey, after 36 overs, a 175 for 3, the target 244.
There's a handy little partnership developing here. It's a lovely shot from Rory Burns. He's looked to get it away, hasn't he, earlier in the piece? But got it away beautifully there. And again, that run rate, well, runs acquired for the first time for a while, Churchy, has dropped below 5.
It has. Johnny Barron's off now. He's going to get changed for his dinner tonight. He's going to go and put his dinner jacket on, I think. Kevin Hand's back. He's been doing updates next door. James Fuller's continuing down below us from the Vauxhall end. Floodlights beginning to take hold a touch now, because we've got cloud cover and not the warmest day out there for spectators. Fuller is over the wicket to Folkes. Folkes drives, Start of the 37th over for a single out towards the sweeper on the cover boundary rope. One more to the total, one more to Ben Folkes. He moves on to 23. 176 for 3. Burns 34. Welcome back.
Thanks very much. Thank you very much. Yes. Surrey just getting their noses in front again, aren't they? A couple of wickets to make it interesting.
Well, I was just saying, this is the dangerous time now for a batsman. Fuller is into Burns. Good shot. Uppercut for 4. Fuller's banged it in. That's the short side of the ground for Rory Burns, and deliberately he's gone up and over the top of backward point. That's the 50 partnership between these two. Burns is on to 38. Nicely played by Rory Burns. And Surrey are 180 for 3, so it's another 64 needed for Surrey from here.
I'd prefer be Surrey, but we saw what happened to Middlesex when they tried to push on.
Absolutely. I think that Burns and Folkes are playing this very nicely at the moment. I don't think they need to do anything else, but cricket does funny things. In so many ways. Fuller. To the left-handed Burns. That big bat lift from Rory Burns. And he's looking to whip leg side. It hits him on the thigh. Rolls to backward point, but they scramble the single. Umpiring Gould signals leg by. One more to the total. 181 for 3. Burns 38. Folkes back on to strike on 23. Breezy old day today. The Middlesex flag hasn't made it, sadly. There's a naked flagpole on top of the pavilion.
A little bit of news. Brendan McCullum has left the IPL with a hamstring injury.
Oh dear, that's not
Let's
good
hope
news.
it's not too bad.
Oh yes, we want to see him this summer. Over the wicket comes, they'll need Jason Roy now, won't they? As forward comes Folkes. Turned leg side to Fuller. They'll pick up a single, 182 for 3. Because dear old Jason hasn't been able to get a game because of Dwayne Smith. But now with McCullum out, I wonder if that might change that.
He's actually left a video to the Gujarat Lions.
Yes. As is the modern way.
Yeah, I think in that video, which I just speedily watched before coming back on air, I think he said 4 weeks. So that should be okay for the NatWest T20 Blaster Middlesex. So let's hope for no complications to that injury.
Fuller to Burns. Burns will just tuck this off his hip on the angle into the leg side. We'll take another single. Rory Burns playing this very sensibly at the moment. 39, 183 for 3. That'll be interesting actually, because Jason Roy is back and is playing for Surrey next week in those 2 games. But with McCullum out now, I don't know how it works really. Could they ring him up and say, we need you back, Jason? We need you back for a week. Siren goes off. Fuller over the wicket to Folkes. Folkes digs out the Yorker. Well bowled, James Fuller. Nicely played, Ben Folkes. Rolls out into the offside, and there is no run. End of the over. Another one ticks past. 37 gone. 183 for 3 then, Surrey, here on BBC Radio 5 Live Sports Extra and BBC Radio London in this Royal London One-Day Cup
Don't
game.
look behind you.
Why?
There's a naked Johnny Barron in the commentary box.
Oh yes, he's getting changed at the moment.
Oh dear, nobody needs to see that.
Well, look, I turned around the other day on Tuesday. He's putting his cricket whites on. Tonight is the old DJ, because he's at a charity
DJ
do
Barron.
Tonight, look at him.
What's the DJ name, Barron? We've got DJ Gubbo out there, haven't we? Nick Gubbins. DJ Johnny.
It's going to be Ollie Rayner down there in the distance. They're looking for a new Bond, aren't they? 183 for 3. As Rory Burns will be the man on strike to the off spin of Ollie Rayner. Comes round the wicket to Burns. Burns uses his feet, tucks him away into the leg side. Will pick up a single. He's played this very sensibly, as Rory Burns. He's on to 40 now. 184 for 3. Of course, in the back of Surrey's minds will be Roland Jones and Helm. So, sound like a 70s detective series, doesn't it? But 3 for Roland Jones and 4 for Helm. So that's 7 overs. The only thing is, if in the back of Franklin's mind will be, do I bring him back a bit sooner to try and knock this partnership over? He's sweeping his Folkes, and he'll get 2 here, I'd have thought. Or will he? Well, the throw comes in. Yes, he will. That's good running from Ben Folkes. Just pulled the fine leg round to his left and gets scampering back for the second. Rory Burns on 40. Folks on 26 now. 186 for 3 as the wind gets up again. Rayner, tall man, over the wicket he comes, back and across goes Folks, looking to punch this through extra cover, but on it a little early, and pushes it straight back up the pitch, and then rehearses just going inside out a bit more through extra cover. There is a gap there. Rayner is in. Folks is forward, little leading edge as he looks to work leg side. Rolls out there towards Franklin at extra cover. He's got those 3 men back on the leg side, long on, deep mid wicket, and a long leg, and a sweeper on the cover rope. He's got a dead ball now. Oh. Well, Rayner's not happy because he was about to deliver the ball.
Who's that down by the gate?
And Ben Folks just stood away.
It's by the gate, isn't he? He's got the other side of the gate, the sub for Middlesex or Surrey.
Over the wicket comes Rayner. Short, pulled by Folks. Good shot. In front of square, beats the diving short mid-wicket and over the rope and away for 4. So whoever got put off, I think it was Rayner more than Folks now. And Folks jumped all over that, and you heard it out the middle of his back, crack, and away for 4 it went. And Folks is on to 30, 190 for 3. Partnership now worth 63. Folks settles over his bat once more. Oi, here we go. Oh. This is all part of the game. Oh. Because now Raiders hit the crease and decided not to let go of the ball. What's he going to do now? Rayner is in, and Folks just helps him, plays it very nicely. Down towards long on, they'll stroll another single. That's 1 more to the total. 1 more to Folks. Folks moves on to 31. Surrey move on to 191 for 3.
He's a frustrated Ollie Rayner, isn't he? Out there at the moment, looking for this next wicket for Middlesex. We said 1 for 38. Surrey would be happy with that if Rayner got through with 1 for 38. What is he now? He's none for 48 off 9. So it's not quite been the day that he was looking for, but he bowled a lot of it, didn't he, to Borthwick and Sangakkara as well in that partnership. But it was Milan who came on at the other end. Golden arm.
Yeah,
part-time leg spinner.
Here we go. Tom Helm into the attack. This is to get a wicket now.
Well, he's got 4 overs and Roland Jones has got 3, and there are 12 overs to bowl, so it's now or never for Middlesex, isn't it? They've got to get...
Well, they've got to knock one of these 2 over now.
Yeah.
You feel otherwise Helm and Roland Jones might not even get to those overs at the back end.
No.
191 for 3 then, Surrey. 244's the target. Tom Helm, right arm over the wicket, runs away from us from the Vauxhall end to bowl the 39th over, and driven by Folks up towards Franklin at mid-off, and there is no run.
It was a meaty shot, wasn't it? Just didn't quite time it. But you could see his eyes almost lit up on seeing it. That's going, he thought.
Well, Roland Jones is getting warmed up as well.
Well, it feels like it's got to take a blaster in the both of them and try and find a wicket or 2 to put some pressure on this chase. 53 required.
Over the wicket comes Helm, short, pulled off his hip for 4 by Folks. He's got that wrong as Helm. That's the shortest side of the ground. He's got 2 men back, but he's just dropped it onto the hip, and Folks good enough just to help it off his hip. And with Helm's pace as well, that's always going to whistle away for 4. Folks is on to 35. Sorry, move on to 195 for 3.
Hello, where's the chant coming from? Is that over there? Is that a Surrey version of the Western Terrace over
yes,
there?
I think that's the Peter May.
Oh.
I think I might get this wrong, so forgive me. I think that's the Peter May Boys, but boys spelt with a Z.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, like boys. Over the wicket comes Helm, forward goes Folks to a good length ball, pushes this one out into the offside, and there's no run. It was like when they used to in the 2020 put the sign up saying make some noise, but spelt it with a Z. So what it actually said was make some noise.
So that's the Peter May.
No, that's the Peter May stand. Boys.
Peter May Boys Zone
stand. No, well, yes.
You see what I did there?
I did.
Eventually.
It didn't quite work, but Helm. Over the wicket he comes to the right-handed Folks. Folks up on his toes, punches up towards mid-on. Roland Jones gets round to do the fielding. Daniel Norcross has just emerged behind me like a dream. 196. Not that I've really ever dreamt of Daniel Norcross, I have to say, but on a day like today, having Daniel Norcross here is a dream. in those shoes and that jacket. Johnny Barron, look at him now. He's all dressed up for his final stint on
commentary. You can't put a Surrey tracksuit on over the top of that, Barron.
196 for 3 wherever he goes. Rory Burns back onto strike on 40 as Helm is over the wicket to Burns. That'll be a wide down the leg side. Bit of pressure beginning to build now on Middlesex.
That has been my broadcasting highlight of the summer so far, listening to Daniel Norcross. Johnny Barron talking about the fallibility of the human mind with Daniel Norcross.
Yes, I didn't really know what was going on there. It was almost like I tuned into an edition of Arena. Here is Helm running away from us again. Over the wicket to Burns. The uppercut from Rory Burns. He's played it pretty well, actually. 1 bounce for a single. And, well, he's jumped outside that leg stump. Helm's seen him going, banged it in, and Rory Burns still gone through with the shot. The key thing there was he got it fairly fine, Rory Burns. Otherwise, it would have been like catching practice for Fuller. But he's got a single. 198 for 3. So it's another 45 required from here for Surrey. Helm is over the wicket to the right-handed Folkes, and Folkes punches up towards Roland Jones at mid-on, who gets round to do the fielding. End of the over, 39 gone, so 11 overs are left. 45 required by Surrey. They've got wickets in the hutch. They've got a partnership that is now worth 71. Very good runs between Rory Burns and Ben Folkes. 198 for 3, Surrey.
What's held Middlesex up in white ball cricket for a number of years, particularly, well, no, white ball cricket in general. Oh, there goes the Dan Norcross sponsored empty plastic cup outside again, whistling around in the wind. What's held them up in the bowling stakes, particularly their battery of seam attack that they have, and a strong seam attack, and a deep number of options in that seam attack as well. It's just the one-day mix-up, the slower balls, the Yorkers. They haven't quite got those skills. They haven't refined those skills in the same way that in the Championship they have line and length. They've got a brilliant attack in Mercer, Roland Jones, Helm, of course Finn is across both formats. But I think that's where, and against Gloucestershire from 65 for 5, that was kind of the reflection coming away from the game, that it was those slower balls, the Yorkers.
Well, it's Roland Jones into the attack, back into the attack for the 40th over. This is a great shot to greet him from Rory Burns. He's jumped outside his off stump to a good length ball, and he's again targeted the shortest side of the ground for him, which is off towards Archbishop Tennyson's, with a roll of the wrists and away for 4. Good little innings this from Rory Burns now, and the 200 is up for Surrey. 202 for 3 now, Surrey.
And again, that short boundary against Gloucestershire, I was going to say the next thing that they would talk about was the slower balls, the Yorkers, and the areas to bowl and the areas not to bowl. And they do have to be wary of that shorter of the 2 boundaries today and how to approach the game.
Roland Jones is in, and Burns will pick him up, whip him down towards fine leg for 4 more. And actually, credit here to Rory Burns. I think what's happened there is he's targeted the first ball of a new spell from Roland Jones. He's gone good line, good length outside the off stump. Rory Burns used his feet and whipped it, and then just adjusted his line, and Burns has jumped across his stumps and taken it off his hip down to fine leg for 4. And that, again, that just evaporates all the pressure. Burns on to 49. Very good runs here from the vice-captain for Surrey.
There's a bit of deja vu for Middlesex though. Look around the field at the moment, they know it.
Over the wicket comes Roland Jones, and Burns chops him to backward points. Good from Compton. Dives to his left to do the fielding. And there is no run. Yeah, Rory Burns is 49 off 53 balls with 5 fours. But I think as a batsman, you sort of think to yourself, right, when against quality, when's my best chance? First ball of a new spell. Jump all over it. Oh my lord. What on earth is... Tell you what, yes please. All I would say is that James Bond has seen better days. Over the wicket comes Roland Jones. Outside edge from Burns. Oh, I think Simpson may have put that down. Burns is looking to run it down to third man. I think Simpson's got a glove to it to his left, but that's the Burns 50 with the single. And Rory Burns moves to an excellent 50. Really good innings from Rory Burns. I think that was a chance. Been a great catch from Simpson. Down low to his left. but Burns on to 50. Surrey move on to 207 for 3.
Yep, 37 to win, and Roland Jones, you could see his reaction there, couldn't you? As he looked away in disgust.
Toby Roland Jones, a little bit of frustration I'd have thought at the moment. Right-handed Folkes is on to strike. Roland Jones is over the wicket to Folkes. Good bouncer. Oh, that's a good bouncer. Folkes was just shaping to have a hook at that. He's played it pretty well actually. It was onto him quicker than he thought, and he's just swayed inside it off his feet. You always know it's a good bouncer when the batsman jumps up in the air. When the both feet come off the ground, it's almost like they're going to head it at one point. Ronaldo-esque. And that was well taken by John Simpson above his right shoulder. So Toby Roland Jones turns again at the top of his mark. Oh, good lord. Dear. As he's getting ready once more to come in to Ben Folkes. As over the wicket he comes, and Folkes off the back foot just punches up towards mid-on. Now pick up another single. One more to the total. The end of the over, the end of me. And 40 overs have gone. Surrey are 208 for 3. And Daniel Norcross will join Johnny Barron for commentary.
Very well paced chase this by Surrey. He approached it properly in that power play in terms of seeing the two dangerous bowlers of Roland Jones and Helm. It's all the way through, despite the falls of wickets. They've kept control of this chase, and that's in a chase like this. 243. Yes, it's not the great time of year for batting on big totals, but as long as they kept wickets in hand, which is what they've done all the way through, then they were always going to be ahead of the game. See, the Duckworth-Lewis is 172. Of course, a wicket or two now would just tighten that up, but you would still prefer being Surrey's position. Here's Tom Helm from the nursery end. Folkes on 37, Burns on 50, and Helm's right arm over the wicket. He bowls, this is dabbed into the offside. Cover comes around, there's no run. 5 Live Sports Extra and BBC Radio London here for the Royal London One Day Cup at the Oval. Myself, Kevin Hand, and Daniel Norcross. Welcome back.
Thank you. It's been a super partnership though, hasn't it? I mean, at 127 for 3 when Sangakkara got out, the game was really in the balance then. Another wicket or two and Middlesex would have been on top. But this partnership, they put on 81. Find out how many overs in a moment for you.
Helm bowls short, it's cut out to cover on the boundary for a single by Folkes. Moves to 38, 209 for 3.
13.3 overs for their partnership of 82 now, 13.4 overs. So
love the way you're rubbing your belly in a satisfactory Surrey way as you say that. 13 points.
It's if you don't mind me saying so, it's the splendid curry that we had at lunch with the naan bread. Now, I love the hospitality wherever we go, but I think it's a bit of a cut above a cheese and ham sandwich.
It is, yeah. Oh, the media lunch at Lord's has been down the list for a long while. Here's Helm, bowls a slow ball bouncer. It's dragged out to deep square for a single by Burns. Moves to 51, 210 for 3.
You know, one of my favourite teams in the whole country is Leicestershire, because commentators get a wonderful 3-course meal. Have I ever told you my favourite one there? I had the crab and avocado tian, followed by pork medallions and a cider sauce with sautéed potatoes, and a trio of chocolate, all munched down in half an hour, brought to you, table service, top notch.
It's almost worth being relegated for that. Here's Helm, he's in, bowls slow ball down the leg side though, a little bit of loop on it. Wide is eventually signalled by umpire Gould, but he's spent a long time thinking of that, so long in fact that Folkes is able to look up to Gould and say, is that not a wide, and then look away thinking fair enough, and then still the umpire by that point hadn't signalled, and then he did. So I had to think about it. I don't know whether it was because Folkes kind of fell towards the offside as the looping slower ball went down the leg side, so maybe not far from the leg stump, but a wide it is. 211 for 3, and Helm is in. Bowls, and this ball's punched to extra cover by Folkes. There is no run.
It's now or never for Middlesex. They've got to get a breakthrough immediately, you would imagine.
That's been the story of this innings really for Middlesex, hasn't it? They've always just about got wickets at times to hold them in it, and even now that's all they'd be doing.
Surrey had the blessed fortune to take wickets just as Middlesex looked like they were getting on top, and then Middlesex would lose a wicket and would set them back. It's just not quite happened for Middlesex.
Yeah. Helm bowls, and I'm not sure if it was an attempted variation. Seemed to come out a little bit more round arm, that one from Helm, and it's driven away for a single out to cover on the boundary.
And
Folks 38.
I don't think one should underestimate just how difficult it is to bowl now in these conditions. It is so cold, the wind is so ferocious, the flags have been horizontal all day, but it's now that much more bitter. I went out there and but you know, it's nasty.
Floodlights taking full-ish effect now as this ball's hooked away down towards third man for a single by Burns. He moves to 52, in that we probably wouldn't be out there in a championship match at this stage, and all four of those floodlights casting the shadows around the players. Did you hear the McCullum news? He's out of the IPL with a hamstring injury. Please don't let him miss the T20 blast.
Now when does T20 blast start?
It's a fair way away yet, isn't it? It's July, so you've got a little bit of time to recover, hasn't he?
Yes, but I mean, you know,
hamstrings.
I think Robson's hamstring is going to be about 6 weeks. Did you think?
Roughly, there or thereabouts is the average time for a hamstring injury, isn't it? So
right, so
4 weeks if he's lucky, and 6 weeks.
That ought to work for. That ought to work for McCullum.
Yes,
and most importantly for Middlesex.
Captain appointed by Daniel Vettori. McCullum, for the first. Well, for the period of games that McCullum's
Kiwi-tastic at Lords, haven't you, with
Southie.
Franklin as well?
Yes, Southie is the second overseas. Here's Burns bowls. Roland Jones bowls to Burns, driven to mid on. There's no run.
So your captains are Franklin in this and 4-day cricket.
Yeah, McCullum.
And then McCullum in the 2020.
Before handing over to Milan.
Dan Vettori.
Southey is the second overseas.
Yeah. You thought of getting Richard Hadley over? It's extraordinary.
Yeah, James Franklin did say, I interviewed him, there's a little bit of a danger of having too many Kiwis running around Lords. I said it could be worse, it could be Aussies. He paused for a moment, thought, I'm not going to answer that, Kev. Here's Roland Jones. He's in, bowls, and it's edged. An attempted pull by Burns, a thick edge past the keeper. No chance at all for Simpson on this one. It's 4 finally the third man field, isn't it, Gubbins? Burns moves to 56, 2-17 for 3.
There's that familiar noise you get at the Surrey-Middlesex match when one side is very confident that it's going to win. It happens both ways round.
Yeah.
It's a sort of growling, happy London noise, isn't it? Yeah.
It gives us a barometer of who's going to win.
It does. It does. The incredibly imaginative chant of Surrey goes up.
Your preferred chant, Surrey, or middle?
Cavalry. I quite like it. I don't know why. Growled, ideally.
Roland Jones is in, bowls, and this ball's clipped away through mid-wicket for 2 by Burns. Moves to 58, 219 for 3. Yes, it's when Middlesex fans start to growl the response of middle that I get a little bit.
Yeah.
Leave it there. 217.
What comes next?
5 Live Sports Extra on BBC Radio London here at the Oval. As I prevent Daniel Norcross from taking that any further. There's a third man, deep cover, deep square and long leg, and Roland Jones has passed the umpire, bowls short. It's gone through to the keeper with an attempted hook from Burns. I did wonder whether he just got a little nick on that. It's busy time of day for the City Airport. Yeah, this is the busiest time of day now. It's 2 of them.
They do change flight paths, don't they? And right today we have been right in the thick of it. There was one rather beautiful moment when a jumbo jet went overhead and it cast a perfect jumbo jet shadow over the ground.
Oh, lovely.
Yes, I rather liked that.
Lovely.
Whilst I don't like flying.
Don't you?
No.
Oh.
No, I don't care for it at all. I know you have to do it quite a lot.
Yeah. So what do you do when there's an overseas tour?
I don't like it at all. I mean, I
tablets?
Yes, I grab the thigh.
Is it a bit like B.A.
Baracus?
Do they have to say, no, you're not going to fly, we're going to put you on a boat, and then they sit... Here's Roland Jones, he's in, bowls, and this is dabbed into the offside by Burns, no run. Slip something in your tea. Yeah, no, we're going to send you on a boat. Here you go, drink that.
That's it. I am slipped to Mickey, and then all is well. But, I don't like it. No.
Oh, dear.
To me, it's illogical.
So you need a return for the timeless test, really, don't you? You'd have been fine back then.
Yeah,
that's what it was, boats, yeah.
I don't know why, because I mean a boat's far more dangerous, presumably. But it's just not something that I particularly care for.
Dear.
And I've got to fly off tomorrow.
Have you? Oh yes, you do. Yes, yeah. It's not a long flight tomorrow, though, so you'll be okay.
No, it's a take-off and landing, though. Still do that, hopefully.
Roland Jones bowls, and this is cut away down to third man for a single. Burns, he's going to come back for the second here. There was a slight delay from Gubbins. I looked down to the fielder and then looked back to the batsman. I don't know, there was a slight fumble which had them happily coming back for the second in the end, and has had the chart happily cranked up.
That was a tight tee, wasn't it? And with the total on 2-2-1 and only needing 24 to win, it was or 23 to win, I should say.
Yeah.
8 overs. It wasn't something that needed to be done, but they've got some momentum into their partnership now. They've put on 94, and you just get that sense now. But I mean, presumably I should have had this sense some time ago. I'm quite surprised at the ease with which Surrey have chased this down. It's been very good batting. I just wonder if Middlesex are missing a little bit, missing Stephen Finn. You would do.
I think Surrey have done well in keeping the majority of the low risk shots, high risk shots out of the equation. As here is Helm bowls, and this is driven away out to points. Single by Folkes, moves to 40, 2-2-2 for 3.
They might have learned from the experience against Essex, actually, that no one prevailed who played high risk shots. The one man for Surrey who looked decent on that day was Folkes, who played a really controlled innings.
Middlesex really did have to bowl Surrey out to win this match, defending 2-4-3, i.e. they needed early wickets, and then as Surrey went for the charge later on, they finished them off. But not having had those early wickets, Surrey with wickets in hand are always going to be favourites, as this is worked away down towards long leg for a single. Burns moves to 61, 223 for 3. It was just been a well measured response by Surrey.
Good toss to win, do you think?
In
do you
hindsight,
think Middlesex would probably have bowled as well, wouldn't they?
Yeah.
Because Surrey don't normally choose to chase.
They don't.
So it's quite a surprise.
Churchy was pointing that out earlier. And in that sense, here's Helm. Ball's just full of a length. It's driven to extra cover by Folkes. For the off stump, there's no run. I think Middlesex will probably feel again that in terms of the toss, okay, maybe they'd have done something different themselves, but really again it was that back end of the inning, the charge, that didn't happen for
39 off the last 10, wasn't it?
Yeah, and had they have kept more wickets back, then perhaps the charge would have been better for them. I mean, you look at two batsmen that got in, could they have taken it on? Well, yeah, but you can't really point the finger just at them, as this is dug out by Folkes from Helm, because then you look at the number of failures, and there's a lot of failures other than Franklin in the 30s and then the 250s, Simpson and Gubbins.
Both of them batted really well. They just didn't go on, did they? And like I said before, Surrey just kept on picking up those wickets. At every moment it looked like Middlesex were just about to get on top. They lost a wicket.
We look at 250 being roughly a par score at this time of year, as this ball's cut away down to third man for 2, just in front of the fielder, in front of the Peter May stand, which gets them all on their feet at the back there. 225 for 3, Folkes on to 42. With the shorter boundary here, perhaps you'd factor that up slightly, the 250 to maybe 270. Again, there was a point where Middlesex were perhaps looking more to 280, but having been inserted this morning, they were held back, weren't they, to 118 for 3, coming close to the halfway stage, I think it was, 25 overs, maybe around that point. This is a lovely on drive by Folkes, beautiful for 4, straight to the mid-on. Helm turns around to see what wasn't a half volley by any means, dispatched down the grounds. 229 for 3. Folkes is on to 46, and Surrey need just 15 runs to win, as that's the end of the 43rd over here on 5 Live Sports Extra. And there's Gunnar Goulds with a bit of footwork again. Former Arsenal goalkeeper.
Yes.
We found that out last week, didn't we, or 2 weeks ago, whenever it was.
Oh yes. Well, you see that 39 off 10, the last 10, you'd hope for 80 the last 10, and a total of 284. That makes things very interesting, doesn't it? Because Surrey then can't afford to be quite so measured in their chase.
Yeah, and the high risk shots come in.
The high risk shots have come in, exactly, and they haven't had to resort to those. And now two batsmen are really well set. 15 runs to win. They've got 7 overs to do it. They've got 7 wickets in hand. Surrey have thrown a even better situation away against Lancashire in a Benson Hedges Cup group match in 1985 or something, 6. I can't remember. They lost 9 wickets for 12 runs, I think. But unlikely here, I would say, today.
You'd have thought so. Here's Roland Jones. There's somebody behind the side screen scurrying to sit down, heckled by the back of the Peter May stand again. The Peter May boys, I think it was, that Mark Church said they were. Here is Roland Jones bowls, and forward goes Burns, pushing into the offside. 2-2-9 for 3. Surrey's version of the Western Terrace I offered. The back of the Peter May stand there.
What? He is panicking. He's not going to get on there. Yes.
Barron?
Yeah.
Oh no.
The Surrey Massive, I think, calling themselves the Peter May Boys. It's quite. It's quite a sort of, dare I say it, even slightly camp expression.
I'm glad you said it.
We are the Peter May Boys. Yes. Quite like it.
Roland Jones into the crease, bowls, and just full of length. This is pushed into the onside. 2-2-9 for 3. So Barron's worried about getting on air, is he?
Yes.
He was absolutely distraught when I disturbed one ball of his commentary spell to tell him that John Simpson is probably injured because he's limping around. That was what I was stretching.
Oh.
That flustered him. I don't know what what's extra. I can't miss a delivery. Can't let Churchy commentate a ball for me.
He does like things to be just so. You know, he likes his kedgeree with mustard in the morning.
Actually, I want him on it because I want to see Johnny Barron broadcasting in a dicky bow.
Yeah,
well, more than just a dicky bow, but it's Roland Jones. It's short, pulled away into the onside by Burns for a single. Moves to 62, 229 for 3.
On the subject of broadcasting in dicky bows, you know, standards are slipping at the World Professional Snooker Championship. Ooh. They ordinarily, last day of the World Professional Snooker Championship, they always used to turn up in dinner suits, didn't they?
Did they?
And they'd sit around looking very solemn. And because it was a great occasion, they were wearing lounge suits and ties the other day. I was absolutely shocked.
Oh dear.
Yes. Didn't see. Good, very good final. Very good final. Very good semi as well between Selby and Ding Junhui.
Roland Jones from the pavilion ends. 230 for 3 is the score as Roland Jones is in. Bowls 2 folks on 46 and has a little dabble outside the off stump. That's through to Simpson. Just nipped away a little bit, didn't it?
Yes, it did. Only 2 balls left though of Roland Jones.
Ever?
No, I mean in this match, and I think Franklin's done the right thing, hasn't he? He's put him on to try to get these wickets, and it just doesn't happen for him.
Well, I think, you know, did Middlesex do much wrong in trying to defend this total? No, because in hindsight it's a low total without the wickets at the top. Could they have bowled Roland Jones through a couple more overs? That 5 over stint that he had, got 1 wicket. Could it have been a 7 or 8 over spell to see if he really could have done some damage at that point?
Yeah.
I think when you're defending 243, then possibly, because they have done that in recent matches with Helm and with Roland Jones last week at Hampshire. As this is short and dragged away into the onside by Folkes. He's going to pick up 2. He moves to 48, 232 for 3, just 12 to win. Here at the Oval now. And again, I was just got onto the point with Churchy before the changeover that one of the areas that Middlesex feel they need to improve is where I think when Angus Fraser came in 2008, you know, I think there's of course an effect for this. He said, look, the white ball cricket, Middlesex won 2020, brilliant. I want them back in the Division 1 of the Championship and towards the top of it. He's got that. Potentially the white ball suffered slightly because of that mentality at the time, as this ball's eased away in front of point for a single by Folkes. Moves to 49, 233 for 3. So that even still now, perhaps Middlesex's battery of seam bowling attack, which is highly regarded, when it comes to white ball cricket, I don't know if they quite have the same mix-ups and variations, slower balls, Yorkers, and tactics, which I think is just an evolution that now they're starting to turn their thoughts to. But obviously it takes a little bit of while for it to bed in. And Middlesex are in this block now where you'd have thought this is an opportunity for them to really get those skills honed for this format. And likewise, they've got Daniel Vittori coming in as a specialist T20. But Middlesex are a side who have so, not without respect for the other competitions, but they focus so much on the Championship in recent years and getting back to the top and then getting that Championship that perhaps the other competitions have suffered slightly. And maybe that's why Middlesex just don't get over the line some of the times in list day, because they're not a bad list day side as some people regard them as. Here is Helm. It's the 45th over of the innings. He bowls, this ball slaps back to mid-off, straight to the fielder. That's 4 and it's 7 to win as Folkes moves to 53 in a dismissive manner.
Another super innings for Folkes. What does that make his average now in the Royal London One Day Cup? Over 200, says Churchy. So 234. Scored 234 runs in the competition. Bearing in mind that Surrey had only won 1 game before today, he's played pretty much a lone hand for Surrey's batting.
Well, coming out of today, Middlesex have only won 1 game. They've got the 1 point.